Hello everyone, welcome along to 4 hours of poker action from the internet. You're in the right place if you are a poker fan. We've got no limit action, cash games, tournaments, multi-table tournaments, you name it, it's coming your way. I'm Nick Wealthall, and to help guide me through the poker jungle is James Browning. How are you, James?
Yeah, I'm great, Nick.
It's a pleasure to be back with you.
Yes, it's good. I just made my way down from Newcastle today just to be with you.
Did
How
you?
about that?
Just specifically, so
I could see you.
how many international borders do you go across between here?
7.
7 international borders. It is, it's still winter there, isn't it? we're basking in summer, of course. It's Tuesday night, and I don't know how your week's started off, but you've got 3 days to turn it around, and you've made a good decision by coming here. This is the beginning of the rest of your week, and why not get it started by getting in touch with us? As you know, we love your texts and emails. That's why we're on the air, to help you with your poker and make you better players, and also give you a chance to interact with us in the studio. 62211. Whatever your level of the game, whatever your question, however basic or complex, do get it into us tonight. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email. James is chomping at the bit. Advice almost seeping out of every pore. There's the website, pokernightlive.co.uk. And we understand that a few of you may be having trouble finding the cash games.
They're lost.
They're lost.
They've lost their little ways.
That's right. Well, the internet can be an intimidating and confusing place, James.
It's become more complicated tonight because...
I was just thinking about how many times I got lost on the internet trying to find something very specific. Apparently the TV tables are now in their own folders. Now, these are marked TV. That's the clue.
That's where it's gone wrong.
That's where it's gone wrong.
Confusing.
Isn't it? Apparently
Yeah.
so. Let's look at the games we have got right now. James, you're going to escort us through them?
Yes. And I think it'll be a sit and go. Oh, it's the MTT. Beg your pardon. Straight off with a bright green MTT multi-table tournament. And we'll be giving you all the details of how many players, how much prize money, and we'll be having little glances at this tournament throughout the night.
Excellent.
Dipping in and out, I think.
Highlight of the show will be the final table. We love the final tables.
We love that final table. A lot of play in that final table. This is a $2 sit and go, and just started. Level number 1. We can see that because it's 10:20. Kelly Smunt. I think that's a new player. And
any girl's name, you get massively excited.
You remember?
Yeah.
Can you remember the name, though?
No, I think it's sweet that that's
No,
the
can you
case.
remember the name?
Can you please tell us about the poker, James?
This is much more expensive. It's a $5 sit and go.
Very good.
And again, in the beginning stages, we're going astronomical now. It's $10. Whoa! And it's still level 1, but we've lost a player already. There's Hoofy. Hasn't made a move yet. Still got his 1,000, all intact.
So there we are. A tour of the tables and another indicator of just how desperate you are for love.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. We all are. As human beings, we all have a deep spiritual yearning for girls.
Yeah, is it that's spiritual, is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Definitely.
that's all right then.
Always say it's spiritual.
Is
Otherwise
this
they
where
get
you got
cross.
lost on the internet when you were looking for sort of
Two
spiritual
unrelated
things?
matters, James. Unrelated.
Oh.
Unrelated.
I thought you could be in
Promise.
search of your... No?
When in a hole. Guys, we're going to have lots of fun tonight, and we're also going to cover a lot of ground. We always do, as far as poker's concerned. So get those questions coming in, and those anecdotes, poker stories, anything that entertains us is also great. And as I said, doesn't matter if this is the first time you've seen Poker Night Live, or the first time you've encountered poker. If you've got a basic question, that's all good. If you've got a complex question, then that's why James is here. We are going to have a very packed night. The text number 62211. The email's poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Get them coming in now. We're going to go to a game, I think.
Yes. Who is John?
As is traditional.
Who is John Tex Barch?
I don't know.
Isn't this amazing? He came 3rd in the World Series, getting $2.5 million, and we don't know who he is.
There'll be more amazing facts like that as the show progresses. And more opportunities to make me look rubbish. It's incredibly easy to do. Just ask a question on the text or the emails, as James has demonstrated. Let's go to a game.
I didn't know he was either, but it's scary, isn't it? That someone who's won that much money...
No one remembers who comes second, let alone third.
Second, we've got that as well, Steve Dannenman. Sort of vaguely familiar, but again, He won over 4.5 million.
He won the same clothes for all 6 days of the tournament.
Oh, I see, you don't remember him.
I do remember that. That's
His
horrific.
lucky clothes.
Christ.
Not lucky for the person sat next to him.
Not lucky for his chances afterwards. Actually, it's an interesting test because he did win like 4 million.
I think he won 4.25
So
million.
that would be a test, wouldn't it? Could he pull, having won 4.25 million, but obviously smelling like a docker after a marathon?
Well, if the spiritual setting was correct.
That's right, because that's what
we're after.
Ladies like, and men, that's what we all know, that spiritual union. Don't know where this is going. This is our multi-table tournament, which we will be dipping in and out of all night, as James said, and then the highlight of our show will be the climax of this tournament, the final table, later on in the night.
We'll be dipping in and out spiritually, of course, only.
237 entrants, all paying $10, so $2,300 up for grabs, if you can imagine that. First place, $711. Well worth winning. You can have a lot of spiritual fun on that.
Definitely.
462 for second and 284 for third, paying down to 20th place.
And it's a very handy number if you're American. It's a 7-Eleven. Shop.
Yeah.
Well, Spa for us, okay.
Spa. A 7-Eleven Spa. Does Spa still exist?
Yes, Spa. We've got one in the north. We've got them. They stay open until 10:30.
Are they not mandatorily owned by Tesco Express now?
No, they haven't taken them all up. We've got an individual Spa. He stays up until 10:30.
In my head, I see Tesco Express like as a Pac-Man going around the nation eating little shops. Extraordinary. Don't like Tesco.
All right.
I don't know.
It's
it has
handy
no
if
relevance.
you're...
No relevance. We're in a multi-table tournament situation,
more like
guys.
a Marks and Sparks man yourself.
Waitrose, to be honest. Waitrose or Harrods if I'm in town.
Good for fruit.
Absolutely. If you haven't seen the show before, or if you're new to multi-table tournaments in the world of poker, as many players as like can sit down, and in this one we've got 237. Of course, you can only see 8 at any one time, but they are sitting around on almost 30 tables, not that many, 27 tables, something like that. And each of them gets the same number of chips for their $10 buy-in. They all start out with 1,200 chips, I think?
Yes.
1,500 chips,
I'm
told.
Oh, in this one, 15, sorry, 15, beg your pardon.
Yeah, in this one, as opposed to...
I was thinking about... I was in
the one you played in your brain. 1,500 chips each, and they play no limit hold'em, so they can bet any amount of those chips at any time until they either lose all their chips, in which case they're out, or they win the tournament, in which case they'd have all the chips, because all of those chips, 355,500 of them, will be finishing up in one player's hands.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Big hands.
As the players are knocked out, the spaces are automatically filled by players from other tables, and the number of tables is reduced. Of course, all that happens by the digital magic of the internet.
It's amazing. The blinds go up every 12 minutes. Did you say that?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely vital point. The blinds go up every 12 minutes, yeah. Starting off at 10 and 20, so we're joining this tournament right at the beginning, and it will take a good 3+ hours to complete.
I forecast they'll complete it, though. I think we'll see this final. I'm feeling confident.
Good, because if you haven't seen one so far on the show, the final tables of the multi-table tournaments are really, really exciting stuff, really good entertainment, players playing for lots of money, and there's a lot of strategy involved, a lot of skill.
And the best thing is a lot of play. It's a surprising amount of play for the final.
Yeah.
We've seen each time, which when we're looking at the blinds in relation to the stacks of chips, I think last time we were on there, we had a final there. We couldn't believe the lowest stack still had a lot of play himself. Do you remember that one, Nick?
Yeah.
It was incredible.
It was very competitive.
He could still be selective even with the lowest chips on the table.
Which is how poker should be, of course. I think once you get into a situation where the skill factor is really diminished, it's not quite the same game, is it? Yeah. But we will, as I said, dip in and out and then show you the final table. For those of you that are completely new to poker, do stay with us. You will pick up things as you go along. I should point out this is our pro night, so we do assume a certain level of understanding about the game. Every other night on Poker Night Live from 10 o'clock is beginner night, and if you are new to the game, tomorrow night will be more focused towards your level of learning. However, you will pick up stuff if you watch the show, and also if you want to know the rules, why not just pop online and put Texas Hold'em rules in, and there are any number of free sites where you can browse them at your leisure and then compare what's on there to what we say, and
Yes.
spot any differences and laugh.
So don't ask Nick the question, because you're going to get these embarrassing moments again.
Yeah, yeah. Provided by you, James.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I thought we were on the same team.
We are on the same team.
But we were all pulling together.
No, we are pulling together, and I'll tell you why. Because
Yes.
I wouldn't have known the answer myself.
That's why you brought it up.
That's why I brought it
Yes.
up. And the reason is, it's a massive amount of money not to know who it was. If the guy had won $2.5 million doing anything else, you certainly would have known him.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible, and I've just been doing a little bit of a look around.
Mm-hmm.
And this last year, 2005, 34 people won a tournament prize of $1 million or more.
Is that right?
Yeah. 34
That
people.
may be the most interesting fact you've ever said on the show. That is very interesting.
Now, Nick,
What?
you're really fighting back after this tech. I could ask you his name now, and that would really stump you, but I won't.
Whose name?
He quickly looks across.
Oh, the other one. The guy you mentioned before. I still don't know his name.
Yeah.
And do you know why? Because I don't care. It doesn't affect me.
Okay.
It doesn't affect our viewers' pleasure in the game that
He's
they're
one
watching.
of the 34 who's got over
Of
$1
course.
million prize.
So how many of those were in the main event of the World Series?
Right, I'm not sure in the World Series.
It was the final
in the
table,
final
wasn't
table
it?
are all $1 million plus.
That was 9 of them. Wasn't it?
11 people last year won $2 million or more.
Are you going to give out all these facts now, or are you?
It's
It's
a
no.
bit of a subject.
What I'm saying is, you've got two strategies to excite and delight. You can either give out the facts. You can either give out the facts
Yes.
now and have like a lot of impact up
Yeah.
front, so the viewers are immediately hooked in and they think James Browning's got it.
Yeah, he's there.
Or
on the button.
you could like dribble them out throughout the show to maintain a level of interest that probably isn't as high, but will get duration.
I'm going to finish this little bit of it. There's lots more topics in
Is
my
there?
head for later.
So they should stay tuned.
They should stay
Don't
tuned.
think this is it.
I think this is quite interesting.
It is very well. The last one was very interesting.
Okay.
Ruddy interesting.
Okay, and the
actually.
next one, the last bit, is 63 people won $500,000 or more as one prize.
I mean, that's a lot
It's a lot.
of money.
That's a lot of big winners in a year, isn't it?
That is
Incredible.
extraordinary. And if you, the most fascinating thing is you don't have to go back very far to when that there would have been maybe 2.
Yeah,
You know, the winner of the World Series and the second place in the World Series. I'd have thought
yeah.
at one time.
And that wouldn't have even, a while back, second wouldn't have got that much for sure.
Well,
Because
it
the
was
field was how many? It was like 100 players.
it was between 100 and 200 for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so very long ago that an internet company that we won't name
No.
gave away the first $1 million prize outside of the World Series. That was about 5 years ago, maybe? It was
Less, I think.
Less than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So the growth in poker is just incredible. And that prize money, I don't think there isn't a sport that would stand in comparison with that kind of
No.
amount.
Well, and I told you, and as I told the viewers last week, of course, is this that the bigger one's going to be massive. There's this 6-seater. It's going to take place, and everyone's paying $10 million, and they're playing for a first prize of $60 million.
I hope they get their meals in for that, because
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
yeah.
If you come second, they get no money. At least
Probably,
you'll be known to have
probably
to pay.
quite a nice hotel room. Can you imagine getting there and you've paid your 10 million, you get to the hotel room, and you get knocked out first, so you don't win anything, and then they charge you for your minibar. You'd be furious, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
$675. I just lost. Oh.
Here I have come to this $60 million tournament. The only time I got the nuts was from the minibar.
Good.
Good.
And that was off the top of your head.
How was it?
That wasn't pre-scripted. The growth in poker is amazing, guys. It is. It's extraordinary, isn't it? Absolutely extraordinary. And we know that new people are getting into poker every day, and we know that there are new viewers of this show every night. And so you are most welcome if you're watching tonight for the first time, or you've just watched a couple of the shows. We know that you're out there, so welcome on board, and do feel free to get a text or an email in. That's why we're here. It's your show, guys. You dictate what we talk about on the show. 62211 is the text number. Couldn't be easier. Or email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Get them coming in. We'll get through as many as we can tonight, I promise.
I'll tell you what would be fun as well. If you're sitting there at home, if you were to win $1 million prize playing poker, what would you do?
I would invest it. I'd put it in trust so I couldn't touch it until I was 70.
Very exciting.
I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that. You're
wouldn't do
bluffing.
That wasn't,
You did that really well. I believed you.
Yes, I'm a very convincing man. Mine would be gone within the week, I think.
Well, make your mind up. Which would it...
Well, I think you know. I think you know the truth.
You'd celebrate for a while.
I'd celebrate for a while and then wonder where it all gone.
Anyway, that might be interesting.
$1 million,
what would you do?
you can't retire on $1 million, can you?
Well, you could.
Well, you can. Of course you can. You can retire on 50 quid if you want, but it's a quality of life argument, isn't it?
Oh, $1 million is still pretty good. You get quite.
I'm not saying I don't want it.
You could get quite good interest on that.
Yeah.
Or an investment, you could get a good return on investment. That much money. Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay, we could play bigger poker games.
Play bigger poker games for sure.
Anyway, what would you do? Would you play bigger poker games? Would you invest it? Would you just stay the same? Would you say it'll not change my life at all? So, you know, what would you do? I think, let's hear from you. Email into us. Let us know if you did win this $1 million prize somewhere. How would it change you? Or would it change you? Would it affect your poker game? Let's hear.
Yeah, it can be easy to get in touch if you'd like to fill in that blank. What would you do with $1 million at poker? 62211. Or ask us any question you like, of course. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email. We will get to some of those very, very shortly. But for now, we're going to leave our multi-table tournament. As I said, that will go on throughout the night, and we'll come back for the excitement of the final table. So do stick with us. You don't want to miss that. But for now, we're going to go to a little cash game. Let's see, I think it's a 25, 50-cent cash game.
They found their way.
They found their way to the tables. Guided by my steady hand.
Very good.
Yes. Welcome on board, guys. Our TV players, there they all are. 25 cent, 50 cent, all TV stars, each and every one of them. And a couple of familiar names and contributors to the show. Lumas, Snap down the bottom there, both old friends of Poker Night Live, as well as some new people.
Yes. Delboy, FK, Ace, these are all regulars, aren't they?
They are.
Let's see what's happening in this game then. 25, 50 cents. As we've said before, let's have a look at the bets. This is a small game, but let's have a look at the bets in relation to the size of the big blind. And we'll see how they're playing it. As what often happens in these games is that they set a standard for what the raise is going to be. We'll see if they've found a level. I doubt whether this will be the level. He's just made it $1, so he's gone 50 cents with 50 cents. With Queen King under the gun. And I think you'll get a caller from a pair of fours for the 50 cents. He does. 8, 9, 10. Problem with these small pairs is out of position. There's 3 overcards. What he could do actually in that case is, in fact, the person there first to speak with the pair could actually bet out. Why could he do that? Because it's probably 2 to 1 on that your opponent hasn't hit his flop if he's just gone in there with 2 big cards. So there.
Just to stop you there, that's the chances of matching to making a pair,
yes,
isn't it?
so it's 2 to 1 against that he's hit the flop.
Yeah.
So therefore, in early position with a pair, even though you don't like the flop, you could actually just lead with a bet. And especially in a bet with a flop like that, 8, 9, 10, you say, okay, that's a dangerous flop. Well, the guy under the gun, it probably wasn't quite the sort of flop he'd be wanting. He might have been going there with something just a bit above that.
Yeah.
So therefore, you could have just bet out at that. Now, he would worry, not about you having the small pair, he'd worry that you'd connected with that flop there. And you could have connected with a pair and an up and down straight. You could think of all sorts of things. He wouldn't like it at all. So there'd be a good fear factor there, and I think actually it would be quite a good play.
Yeah. Good tip.
Another reason why it's a good play is because it's easy to get away from it. If your opponent likes it or whatever, well, don't try anymore. You've tried it. But for a one-off, it's not a bad bet. And you don't have to put a big bet in, because you can put in a smallish bet.
Well, if you bet sort of half the pot in that situation.
Yeah. because now, or even just a tad more, but now you're putting that in, I think you get away with that a lot of the time. So therefore, what you're doing is you're counteracting being out of position, basically. So what you're doing is you say, it's just like the old, like what your granddad told you, you know, get the first punch in, son, if you're in a fight. You know. So you're getting the first punch in. You've just gone and punched him on the nose to start with.
What a beautiful, beautiful philosophy. My granddad told me, love thy neighbour.
Oh, this is where you got the spiritual bit from.
Well, I'm a deeply, deeply spiritual man, James. I think that comes over. No?
No.
Oh. Disappointing. Mordelm, having a little pop with the ace-9.
Have you had any spiritual experiences with the girlies recently?
James, please. It's Poker Night Live.
Oh, not that you've ever wandered off from the subject. Sorry, Nick.
I can't bear wandering off the subject. Can we focus on the game? You seriously think I would tell the Poker Nation my recent exploits?
Oh dear.
I thought we were coming to vision there. That would have been terribly embarrassing.
Yeah, the pink cheeks.
Percentage of pre-flop folds. You can't see my pink cheeks.
I don't want to.
This shows us how tight our players are playing. See how I persevere and rise above?
Yes.
Obviously, the higher that number, the tighter the guy in question is playing. That's the number of times he's throwing away his hands without even calling the opening blind bet.
And it'll be interesting to keep on looking at those stats just to see how they develop through the game.
Could see a bit of blind play here.
Well, they're being quite cautious at the moment. Pool cue on the button, 3-4. Don't think he's going to get chirpy here. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, though. By that, I'm saying on the button there or on the cutoff, you can sometimes put a raise in with quite obscure cards. Do a raise 3 times the blind, see what happens. You might just take down the blinds, you might hit a funny flop and get a big pot.
I guess that depends on... That kind of really depends on your style of play, doesn't it?
It depends on your image.
Yeah, in your image, yeah. No question.
If you've set up... In fact, image is such an important thing at the table. If you've got like sort of a really solid image, well then you will get away with making a play like that. Of course you won't get away with it if you're doing it on Poker Night Live, because never mind the image, they've just seen what cards you had, really.
Yeah.
But in a game generally, if you've got a solid image, every now and again you will be able to pop in this raise with funny cards, and you've got the plus point of 1. If they haven't got much, they'll just pass because they'll think you've got ace, king, ace, queen, or whatever. If they do call, you might actually hit a lovely funny flop. A pair of 3s and a flop, a pair of 4s and a flop. You're sitting there with your 4-3, and you've just got trips. Very nice.
Those are just wonderful when that happens, isn't it?
It is tasty.
Make that steal and then get lucky.
And why it's good is because, like all the times in poker when it is good, is it's when you know where you are. And of course, when you've got a funny, played with funny cards and connect, you know where you are, and you realise that your opponent doesn't know where he is or where she is.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. So this now gives you great scope for the rest of the betting on this flop.
It's even better, isn't it? Because your opponent is probably thinking that you're somewhere completely different to where you are. He probably thinks the polar opposite, which is that you were stealing the blinds, and he
just doesn't know where he is.
No.
So now you're full control of the betting here. Now you can actually toy with him or her. You can just, with the betting, it's amazing. Because you say, well, it just doesn't put me on this, that's for sure. I've just flopped a straight. You can't believe that with 3-4. If you're a loose as a goose player, not the same, because I think, yeah, you can play with any 2 cards. He's probably hit the blooming straight. That's why he's betting.
That's one of those phrases that exist because it rhymes, doesn't it? People haven't got geese, very loose style of play.
Oh,
or,
right.
You know, geese, very kind of... always very loose, aren't they? Very sort of flappy. It's literally just because it rhymes.
Yeah, well, sort of, the whole farmyard gets into this, basically, doesn't it? We get, fish, loose as a goose.
We do. 2 ducks.
Yeah.
2
Oh,
twos.
yeah. King Kong.
That's not in a farmyard, though, is it?
He could be. He'd cause havoc. There'd be loose goose flying all over the place.
You've stretched the metaphor to breaking point, James.
You like King Kong, though?
I like King Kong.
You wouldn't care about the geese if he was there.
Now that's the kind of play that we see these sort of newer players, lower limit players making. Is it just limping in with a hand like Queen 10 in middle position? It's kind of typical trap, really, isn't it? Because it's kind of 2 big-ish cards, and you think, well, it's 2 big-ish cards. It's not too bad. I could win.
Yeah.
Where in actual fact, it's a poor hand.
It's a danger
You're not
hand.
in great position. And what do you want to see on the flop?
And the only thing is, if you call with what we call danger hands, as long as you realise the dangers, it's all right. Basically, you want to find a hand there. I mean, we want to hit you straight with it. I mean, that's it.
Right.
Then you know exactly where you are. But you realise you mustn't get overexcited if you hit your 10 or your queen. But what you have to do is you have to basically feel your way through the pot if you play with funny cards, because you're looking. It's not whether you're looking, oh, have I hit? Yes, you have hit, well done. But you're busy looking at your opponent, looking at their betting, just really trying to work out where you are with them.
Yeah.
In the end, it's not going to be a hand which is going to power anyone out. It's a hand which is just basically going to collect the money when they've actually missed. And that's what you've got to be on the lookout for.
I'm also, I have to say, I'm not a big fan of, you're in middle position and the first 2 or 3 players have passed and you limp in. I'm personally not a fan of that play. I don't see the point of it, really, because you encourage others to enter the pot behind you that may not have done otherwise, so you may have more competitors, and you don't stand a chance of winning the hand right there and then.
Yeah.
I don't really see the logic.
Well, there's another big downside as well. The massive downside is you limp in there, someone sees a limper and raises. You've got to leave your money behind for nothing and never even see a card. That's a very expensive hobby, because that's called, in my book, frittering your money away, because that's what it is.
I agree.
We're in agreement.
We're in agreement. No frittering. No frittering. That's what we
normally
want.
agree on the game.
We agree on everything, James.
Not everything, but
no.
On the game, I think we're...
We don't agree on some of your comments, which are harsh.
Sorry,
but on the game, yes, we agree. Yeah. We are of one mind.
Who did your hair tonight? It looks exceptionally...
Do you really want to discuss hair?
No.
Because
no.
It doesn't matter how mine's styled, I still win.
You could share.
You wish you had this much hair to do as badly as I've done it tonight.
Is it the new gel you've got on it?
Oh, God. Seriously, leave it alone. What's it ever done to you? I admit it does look a little bit like I've recently killed my gerbil and put it on top.
There's a lot of
the thing is, there's too much of it. I need a haircut.
There is a lot of hair.
I need a haircut. That's the beginning and end of the story, isn't it?
Yeah, there's loads of it, though, isn't there? It's good.
Percentage of played hands won.
Ah. Actually, that's peculiar, because I remember four king.
We call him FKA.
Yes, I forgot what we called him there. I was struggling.
Yes.
We know who we mean. FKA, he actually had been the most solid player, but funny enough, his percentage of hand won is the lowest, which is not what you'd expect.
A little statistical anomaly. We're watching a 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. These are real players playing for real money on the internet. That's all we ever show on Poker Night Live. And this is the only interactive poker show on tonight that's any good. So why not get involved? We are waiting for your texts and emails. We'll be doing some in the next half hour. So do get them coming in, guys. You can ask us anything you like connected with this great game or the show or your life, whatever you like. It's easy to get in touch, and we will get to many of them. So take this opportunity to interact with our show. 62211 is the text number, 62211. Or we are also emailable, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, as Del Boy makes a crafty 2-pair.
Very crafty. Is 1 pair is enough?
Yeah. That will be
There
that
we
for
go.
Numas.
Back to limping.
Yep.
How about at a passive table, limping in late position?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm being slightly hypocritical here. There are certain tables which I don't come across very often, but I used to in my youth when I played at much lower limits. There are certain tables which I would limp in early position because I know that there's a very high chance that it will be unraised. You play in some games where almost no pots are unraised before the flop. Players only raising with aces, kings and queens, basically.
Yep.
And, you know, it's the same old story, isn't it, with this game? You can't set hard and fast rules. You must adjust to the playing conditions.
So therefore, limping in late position at a passive table, for sure, I think there's nothing wrong with that at all, because you might actually end up with position for no raised bet.
Yeah.
So now you've limped in with funny cards, great. No one's raised, great. You're last to speak, great.
Yeah.
This should not cost you money, this.
Yeah.
If you don't connect, you don't have to be there.
Well, I watched...
If you connect in a big style, wow, you can win a big pot. And I relate to this because in the early stages of a slow format tournament, where it starts off 25-25 and you've got like 10,000 chips or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm all for trying to get in there very cheap just to try and hit something massive. But then run away if there's a sign of any bet, which I don't want to know. Because at that stage, when you've got a massive stack, you can ping in 25 cents. So what? Doesn't cost you. You don't notice it's gone. But you might suddenly hit your magic straight or whatever, and suddenly that is the hand you want to suddenly, you know, you find somebody who doesn't realise they're playing too fast in the early stages, and you're there to capitalise. So again, in the money game, I think there is room for it. If the table characteristics suits.
Yeah.
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 And why I'm saying it, we'll look at this, because this game, you see, even the button there could call.
Right.
6-jack suited. I think he should call. This table's quite passive at the moment.
Well, in that case, shouldn't he raise there?
Yeah, I don't mind that either.
I mean, I've got no problem with him raising there because he's with these players who, you're right, are passive. He is going to win the blind such a high proportion of the time that his cards, he's not raising based on his cards. He's raising based on his position and his expectation that he'll win the blinds enough with that bet to make it a profitable bet.
Yeah, and if you add raise and then follow up with a bet 80% of the time, regardless, more or less, he probably wins. On the passive table, he wins loads of times, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
So, in fact, but as I said, every now and again, though, if you are doing the limping, then every now and again you should limp with a strong hand. So therefore, it doesn't telegraph you've just got funny cards. So somewhere along the line, they've got to see that you're capable of limping with a big hand every now and again.
Right.
So you've got to now put the element of doubt in people's minds. You can't just do something by rote and then say, well, hang on, Nick only ever limps when he's got something like 6-4 or 8-9 or whatever. It's no good. They've got to see you suddenly limp with a big pair one time, limp with 2 big cards one time, limp with ace-queen suited one time.
I think you made an excellent point about a while ago when we were talking about the limper in middle position, which the problem is that a good player will see that as dead money. And the problem with limping in late position, if nobody else has entered the pot, is that if someone like you or me is sitting in the blind, we'll think, regardless of our cards, let's say you're sitting in the small blind and the button limps, there's a very good chance, depending on who it is doing the limping, that you'll think, I can put in a raise here, I've got the big blind that could be any 2 cards, and I've got the button who must have a weak hand because, you know, he's on the button, he's still limping.
Yeah.
I can raise with anything here, and it's a profitable bet because a lot of the time I'll pick up those 2 bets.
Yeah, you're getting well rewarded, yeah.
Yeah.
But as we said, it's forever changing. So what's important when you're at the game is you've got to be checking out the pattern of the game. You've got to be checking out the flavour of the game.
Well, Snappet's made his flush. And bets it. Quite right too, with that paired board. And Loomis doesn't have a hand, so it'll be tough for Snappet to win any more here. No, it isn't, because Loomis wants to have a bluff. Well, that was interesting. I wonder, I know you're looking at your notes there, James,
Sorry.
but no, it's fine. Loomis bluffed at a pot, and Snappet had made his flush. There was a pair on board, so Snappet just called. And that's one of those situations where I think it's very difficult to know whether it's right to just call because you could be beaten with your flush, or whether there is actually value in putting in a raise.
I think he's just...
Because trips might well call you, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know, I'm just throwing that out.
I don't know whether the trips does call you when there's a flush on the board if
Yeah, I
you
don't know.
re-raise. So therefore I think he's right, because I think he only gets called when he's beaten.
Yeah.
So more times than not he's called when he's beaten. A lot the other time the guy puts it down.
Yeah.
So he's not really gaining too much. If we look at the number of times which it happens, we'll see what happens. He's not gaining much overall is the problem.
And that's a principle that we see violated quite a lot on the show, and if you're looking to improve your game, something that you can look at to whether you do or not, which is you should only be making... the only bets and raises that are profitable on the river are value bets and raises, which is ones where a lesser hand will call you.
Yep.
So a hand that's not as good as yours will call. And what we see on the show a lot is players making bets and raises on the river when they will only be called if they're beaten.
That's right.
You see it all of the time, and you need to... that is a very expensive mistake to make, because river bets are always bigger than earlier bets.
So basically on the river, you should either be... It's two bets, basically. You should either be betting for value or you should be bluffing. Basically, that more or less, that's it. There's an area where it's definitely wrong to bluff, and I've seen this in the game.
Kent.
Yes, Kent. They always call you in Kent.
Sorry,
Don't
do
bluff
continue.
them.
Yeah, sorry.
The Garden of England.
The
Geese everywhere.
very loose area. Sorry, James. The area where it's always wrong to...
Yes, is where you've got a hand which has every chance of... it's quite a reasonable chance of winning on merit.
Yes.
Now, when people try to bluff with this hand, it's a very bad proposition. Because when they bluff with this hand, which is capable of winning on merit, they think they're putting a bluff in. When the person passes, well, they'd have won this anyway on merit. But when they get called and they're beaten, they obviously lose their bet.
Yeah.
As a package, they're going to do very badly with this.
Yeah.
They'd be better just saying, okay, check, let's just have a look. When you're bluffing and you've got no hand, the odds are better, in a way, because it is your only way you can win the hand. So now, basically, if you won 50, if they passed 50% of the time, and you lost 50% of the time, and you bet the amount which is equivalent to in the pot, you're going to come out level. So if they now pass more than 50% time, you're now in the land of profit. And this is again looking at poker in the long run. But if you've got this position here where you've got a hand which is capable of winning on merit, if you don't bet, you win quite a lot of those hands. So now this alters the equation of the bluff being successful. Do you get what I'm saying there?
Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting. I think it's very interesting. The thing that I've found that works particularly well is in internet games is checking and calling on the river.
Yes.
Which plays into some of those principles.
Yes.
Which is when you when you think you've probably got the best hand, but you're first to act, particularly if you've been taking the lead in the betting. If you check and call rather than bet out, it can be extremely profitable because online players I think, bluff a little bit more than
They do.
live players. And I think that you can induce a bet there because they see your checker's weakness.
Yes, and the other plus point about this is, it is a play I do a lot myself, and the other plus point about this is when you've walked into a hand, you're going to lose less on that hand. Because if you've bet out,
That's right.
and you get raised, you might have to call the raise for the amount of money in the pot.
Absolutely.
But now when you check, if the person's got a monster, he's terrified that he doesn't get paid, so he charges you less than you'd have bet yourself.
That's right.
So you've been up against, you've got ace, you've got top pair with a king kicker, but he's got trips. You check. He says, I've got to get paid. I know he's only got top pair. I must be frightening him off. He charges you so much. So that's, you lose less on that situation. And as Nick said, when you check, someone else takes it just purely as weakness and they try to bluff you and you snap up those bluffs.
Well, Loomis has semi-bluffed here into the wrong pot and been crushed by Paul Q with his full house, kings on jacks. Biggest hand of the night so far.
Not nice being crushed by a pool cue, I wouldn't imagine.
No. Nice pot for Paul Q. That's what he had. Full house. Kings and jacks.
Wow. That is the first time I've seen that.
What?
The best hand graphic. I haven't seen that before.
It's nice that you just smoothly linked it into the show and...
It came just as a pleasant surprise when it appeared on the screen.
Okay. You're really excited, aren't you?
Well, it's
like
quite
Christmas
nice.
morning.
Big cards and...
Yes. It's pleasing.
Yeah, pleasing to the eye.
Very easily pleased.
No, I thought it was...
Which sort of runs in contradiction to your... Or maybe it plays into your need for love and affection at the moment.
I haven't mentioned any of the names here now.
No.
'Cause
Are you with women at the moment, James, in your life? What? I'm asking.
Oh, I can't ask you, but you can ask me.
That's pretty much how it works, yeah. Well, you did ask me.
You ignored it.
That's right. No flush for Loomis. And he's managed to do his stack in a couple of hands, which he won't be happy about.
Definitely not.
One of our regular contributors to the show, Loomis. Unfortunately, not his night so far. He plays a better tournament game than that. I haven't seen him play cash games too much, so I don't know if that's all. But that was a little bit reckless, his play, I think.
Yeah, and I think what he's showing there is sometimes the weakness of a tournament player is he's actually trying to make too many moves.
Yeah, just trying to force the action too much.
And when you're playing a cash game, the blinds are not going to go up. You have more time. Because in a tournament, your plays are determined by how much time you've got left.
Yeah.
If you've got very little time left, well, you'll be putting your chips in with 4-5 off suit. It might be the case because it might just be the correct play. There's no more time left. You might as well pop it in there. Because it's better that you've got a 36% chance maybe against 2 overcards and wait any longer. You can't afford to let the chips go. So it's this pressure of the blinds going up. But in the cash game, the blinds are not rising at all. So therefore, we've got time. We've got oodles of time. So we can be more selective. We can choose when we want to play. You can pass for 50 hands. It doesn't matter. What it means is they're going to have more respect for you when you play next anyway.
Yeah, you really... If you're going to make a bluff or a move in a cash game, then it has to be absolutely the right thing to do based on the merits of that bet, because you don't have to do it. You're not being forced to do it. Yeah, and
there's got to be a storyline. That's what I say.
Well,
for a bluff, there's got to be a real storyline.
Well, there, Loomis did most of his chips when he made a big move at a pot with a straight draw. He made a semi-bluff. The problem was that there were 3 players that had already put money in front of him on that betting round.
Yeah.
Now, that is not a good spot for a bluff. That's a tremendous amount of resistance to get through. You've got to convince 3 people that your hand is better than theirs, and the chances of doing that are slim. This is one of the number of players in the hand, of course, is one of the big factors in the game, but especially when you're bluffing, because to be winning when you bluff, of course, the other players must throw their cards away. So just simplistically, the more of them there are, the more unlikely your bluff is to be
It's
successful.
a great point, Nick. Well, that's one of the things for bluffing. Don't bluff when there are too many people in the pot. Absolutely. Don't bluff a crazy player.
No.
Because they call everything. It's a waste of time. Don't try and bluff if you've got too loose an image. Because you're going to get seen by more people. It's like, he's just loose. He could have anything.
Yeah.
That's not what you want. Oh, he could have anything. No, I got a good hand, really. No, you can have anything. Don't try and bluff now if that's your image. If you need to bluff, tighten up your image. Even if you've been a loose player, say, right, lock up shop for a while. Say, look, I'm a new changed man. I only play premium cards now. No good if you've got a loose image. So those are 3 definite guidelines. And also, be taking note of your opponents. See what they play. See what hands they limp with. See what hands they raise with, etc., etc. Now, when you're angling up to see if it's a good time to bluff, have a picture of the opponents there. Have a picture of what their actions was and say, does this fit in? With his style, has he got the sort of hand which he's likely to pass now? Or has he got the sort of hand he's going to like to retaliate with? Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you're writing this down, guys, at home. This is gold. It's all for the same ticket price.
It is good, is it?
Which is free.
Yeah, free.
Hard to believe. We're going to be taking some texts and emails in a minute. Thanks for getting them into us, guys. Plenty of time to get your questions answered on tonight's show. We've got 3 hours left of this poker magic. On a Tuesday night, 62211 if you want to text us. The email is poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And as ever, we'll try and get through as many of them as we can. Apologies if we don't get to yours. They're picked based on interest level and amount of compliments. So there's the criteria.
And if you've gone to one of the sites and you can't find the cash games, it's because they've now created their own little folder, which says, very simply, TV, which stands for television and TV tables. So look for it there. It looks like it's gone. It's not. And there's plenty of spaces there because they've wrong-footed people. But I'm sure the word will soon get around. Well, we've had a raise here from I Won a Trump with Ace King, big slick, made it 3 times a big blind. It's good enough, takes down 75 cents.
Yeah, he wouldn't take down 50 cent because he's immortal, isn't he?
He is immortal.
He's been shot 214 times, if you can imagine that.
Well, I'll tell you what, and in the PlayStation game, he's even better.
Is he?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Is he actually good at rapping in that, or is it still accurate?
Fighting.
We've got a couple of emails on a controversial subject, James.
Uh-oh.
If you're ready for a little bit of
bit early for controversy.
tetchiness in the air. It's to do with bots.
Bots?
Not my bot, but
Thank
bots.
goodness.
This is from Ben in Croydon, who says, "Hi guys, Nick the hair's looking good." Incredibly... And can I take this time to say what an incredibly intelligent email you've written, Ben? It really is very interesting. I've recently started playing very low-stake cash games as a change to my usual 5-10 tournaments. The players on the 5 cent, 10 cent table I play on seem to frown on, then gang up on pre-flop raises. It's really weird. I now just tend to call the big blind as no one will play if you raise. That's all right, it's free money, isn't it, if no one plays?
Good tactic.
Raise with everything.
Yeah.
Is this ruining the way I should play? I've thought about moving up the blind levels to a standard which will allow my normal play, but don't feel comfortable putting more money on the table. Definitely don't then. A mate of mine has suggested that the tight players that won't allow raises could well be bots. Do you think this is the case? For those of you who don't know, a bot is a automated computer program that poses as a human player. And we've got a second email on the subject, which is from just before we discuss it, James from Brumby, or Brump, who says, "Great show, been a fan for a while. Well, thank you for emailing in. Love it when a new viewer emails in. Do you consider that there are poker bots playing now on UK internet sites? A national newspaper did a rather sensationalist article late last year on this topic." I saw that actually, it was in the Mail on Sunday, so Must be true. My own view is that actually an article on poker bots with the last paragraph being all about how there were too many immigrants in the UK. It wasn't really. Every day the Mail, what is it? Doesn't matter what's in the news. Oh, and by the way, readers, shocking filth. Sorry, it's not an editorial. My own view is that there are bots. I haven't seen them be remarkably successful, but there are some who consider the internet poker boom would be thwarted by the increased use of these programs. So yeah, the point is that a bot obviously is a computer program, and while not unbeatable by any means, they play more solidly than a low-level human poker player would play. I think that's a fair assessment of where we are.
Oh, that's true. And actually, tight bots are very popular.
I mean, seriously, what am I supposed to do with that?
I don't know.
In the space of 2 minutes, I've basically gone off at a national newspaper, which many of you probably read, so I do apologise, and you've basically turned it into Carry On Poker. Bots, James, they're a problem. What are we going to do about them?
Yes.
Are they a problem?
I don't think they are a big problem because the poker sites are very aware of bots, and they now have the software to be able to recognise a bot. So they can pick up a bot. It's quite easy to pick up a bot's play because it's just very much the same. It doesn't have a massive program. It'll just play to a certain style, and so they've definitely got the software to pick it up. So I think the life of the bots is actually been shortened dramatically.
The other thing is that there may be some bots playing on UK internet poker sites. That may be true. But these things take hundreds of hours to program and set up, and equipment and so on. So it's a really dedicated operation to set up a bot.
Yeah.
And it really isn't widespread by any stretch of the imagination. And as James said, the internet sites can track them down anyway.
Yeah. There are also bots on bet exchanges. Bots are trading on bet exchanges. They back and lay. But it's been openly declared that there are bots there. You've been told that they are there. But so what? If you want to back Nick Wealthall to win the World Series... Good idea. ...at 4-1...
Less good.
Then the bot wants to give you the 4-1, okay, he's just doing his job. If Peter down the road wants to give you the same price, what's the difference?
Yeah.
But the bots at the poker site, no worry.
We've got to go to a break, James. We're going to be back with lots more of your emails after this. Welcome back, boys and girls. We're doing texts and emails. Good stuff.
I've got to just say this last little bit. The guy there, the 5 cent, 10 cent game, he stopped raising. No, I think it was in his email, 5 cent, 10 cent game. You mustn't stop raising. You must keep on playing the game properly. Whatever level you're playing at, don't suddenly say, and if they all pass, that's fantastic. You've won the blinds for nothing. This would be amazing. As Nick said, bet all the time if they keep on passing. What could be better than that?
Exactly.
If that does not satisfy you, then you are not playing the right size game. Because any game you play, you should be happy to take down the small and big blind.
Absolutely.
That has got to appeal to you. If it doesn't appeal, you're in the wrong game.
Yeah, you don't want to fall into playing the same way as everybody else. You actually want to be trying to do the opposite, to be fair.
Yeah.
Simon from Sheppey. I think that's the Isle of...
The Isle of Sheppey. Wow.
We are global, so no surprise that the Isle of Sheppey is involved. Where is it?
Down, Shep.
Scotland, yeah?
Scotland, yeah, off Scotland.
I have brilliant knowledge of the world. Hi there, Poker Zone. Hi, Simon. Thanks for emailing. When I play online, I often get enraged by idiotic players around me and subsequently get rather aggressive on the old text box. I told one person I wished his dog was dead.
Oh.
And told another that I thought he was a much looser player than me, a comment I intended to scar him deeply with. Probably the old pet murder is a little bit more severe, Simon, if I'm honest. But my question is this: how far is too far in the text box? Aside from using the language of a sweary docker, what is acceptable? Is insulting the percentage of an opponent appropriate? Salting their percentage, I hate that. And are there any famous examples of when blue language has made the foul-mouthed competitor come up trumps? Kind regards. Well, there are different styles of, if you like, use of chat in poker. There are some famous players who talk openly and liberally at the table. There are many poker players who would never say a word at the table, whether they're online or not. I think it depends what suits your personality and also what is in line with your own ethical standards, if you like. It is part of the game. The text box is part of the game. Other players have a function almost at every internet site I've ever been on to turn off the chat.
Ah, yes.
So, from my point of view, if it's there and you want to use it to try and rile other players, then as far as I'm concerned, that's fair enough, because they can disable that function and not be bothered by it at all. But if you find you're getting riled by it and it's affecting your play, then obviously it's not a good idea. Are you a little bit more ethical than me, or?
Well, actually, I don't tend to give insults when I play.
I don't. I think it's disgusting.
Also, I think saying in England to say your dog's dead's too far. I think your hamster's about as far as you should go, not a dog.
Because with a hamster, there's a decent percentage chance that that's true
Yes.
if you haven't checked in on it for a day.
But, yeah, exactly.
So then you live for about
But the dog,
a week, don't they?
the dog is very close to the English heart, isn't it? And probably the Scilly Isles heart as well.
So that is going too far, Simon, from
Definitely
Sheppey.
too far.
But we'll leave it up to your conscience as to what you do. Mike wants some heads-up advice, James.
We're here.
We're here. Dear guys, he writes,
Ooh.
I'd like some help with heads up. I believe myself to have a good heads up game, but I faced a real problem in my last heads up battle. I find myself in this situation when playing in a home game with somebody whose game I know very well. I had 9 times the big blind, whereas he had roughly 30 times. Obviously, a decent chip advantage for him. 3-1. Any ace, any pocket pair was all in for me pre-flop on the button, but I felt unsure what to do when I was on the big blind and my opponent just limped in. He did this a lot, so I was never sure of his hand strength. How do I combat this? So that's his main query, and obviously general heads-up advice, James, particularly when you're the short stack.
Right. General advice here is that you have to be probably more aggressive than you can imagine. It's because you are the one who has got less big blinds, which you pointed out, which that's great. You've pointed that out to us. So you actually have to be far more aggressive than you can imagine. So therefore, it's not just aces and pairs at all. You can go down there to your jack queen, your 10 jack, whatever. You should be making bets because you should just be aggressive. You might get the guy to put the hand down. You definitely need to be the aggressor there. And because you're the short stack, if it all goes wrong, you need to get lucky. You get lucky, you've got more time, you now have the time to wait for slightly better hands to play. So it's all this little barometer of what hands do I have to play. When you go down to about 2 big blinds, you're playing anything virtually. You go down to 1 big blind, it is anything. I don't look at the cards. So it's this barometer of what hands can I play, and it keeps on fluctuating according to how many big blinds you've got.
And with specific reference to his point about if you are off the button and the player on the button just makes up the blind, any strategies there that can help? If he's doing that, if that's his style, so he'll do that with a strong hand or a weak hand?
I wouldn't be bothered trying to determine that too much. I think at this stage you just look at your cards. If these are just like reasonable cards there, just be aggressive. You haven't got enough time to deliberate here.
Yeah.
Either you're going to be right and push him off it, or you've got to get lucky. You've got to do one thing because you haven't got many chips. Yeah,
I almost think that playing a short stack heads up is easier than playing a big stack, because playing a big stack, you've got to close it out. You've got you're facing some player that's going to be playing aggressively, and it can be hard to know when to push and when not to push. Playing a small stack, there's really only one game plan, isn't there, which is to be as aggressive as you can.
Well, what there is if you've got a short stack, right, supposing you were very good at keyhole surgery poker, if you've got a short stack and you decided this was not quite the hand to play, you know how much you're going to be right by? Very little. If you're wrong and you should have played it, you're wrong by a mile. So therefore, if as a short stack you were just aggressive, more or less blindly, you could never be that far wrong.
Yeah.
And that is the key.
Yeah. Agree 100%. Guys, we're going to get back to a game, but please keep the texts and emails coming in. That is why we're here. It is your show, and you dictate what we talk about, and I'll get my words out in a minute, and we'll all have a bit of fun. Text number is
We have more fun when you don't
62211.
get them out right, actually.
Can you lay off me, James? I've had a very hard day. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email. And we are here to talk to you guys. Please do get involved with the show. You know how much we appreciate it when you contribute. We're going to go to a poker game so that I can physically assault James and not be seen. Here we go. Dipping into our multi-table tournament.
You should be happy.
You all right now?
Yes, thank you.
Say, please, sir, can I have another?
You should be happy. It's very nice to have the men say your hair looks nice.
That's fine by me.
No, I'm just saying.
You know.
It's very nice.
I don't understand what your fixation is with my hair anyway. Well, I do understand. It's perfectly obvious what it is. You want to borrow some. This is our multi-table tournament, which we will be dipping into during the night. As we said at the top of the show, it's a big multi-table tournament. 237 players started out paying $10 each. And they will be playing down to a final table, which we will cover as much of as we can later in the show. So do stay tuned, because they really are a great way to improve your tournament game, and extremely exciting to watch. I'm looking forward to it. James is looking forward to it.
Yes, definitely. Have we got any information what stage we're at, or is it going to come through?
Is that not your job?
Yes.
Well, so it's probably a reasonable assumption that we
what I've
haven't
done
got
is
any information.
Yes, it's come. I can feel it. It's just like when you sort of the hot water you can feel just been turned on. It's trickling along the pipes, and I think that's what's happening. The information is on that little highway
I'll just be
towards
over
us.
here on the edge of my seat, yeah?
I can feel it, the pipe's there. I feel that there's about 62 players left.
Yeah.
And the big stack is Johan Harren, who's a regular on the site.
There he is, in seat number 5.
A regular of the sit and goes, isn't he?
Regular sit and goes, regular contributor to the show. So well played to this point, Johan. Let's see how the rest of the tournament goes for him.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, once he's got chips, I'll tell you what, I fancy him to be there to the final, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because he's a very solid player. And the guy who's just gone all in there for 1,235, he's just increased it. He was, in fact, the lowest stack. He's probably not now, though.
Well, it's exciting. Johan Harren's got chips. I am not afraid to admit massive prejudice when I watch these multi-table tournaments to our regular players.
Ah.
I like our regular... Well, they make Poker Live what it is, and I want them to do well.
Oh, right.
So there.
I've just had an offer come in for they want you to write for the Daily Mail.
They've got no comment on that, James. I can't voice my views again. Naughty enough to do it once.
You were naughty.
Well, I think you'll find that almost everyone else is in agreement, so... Freedom of speech, isn't it?
It is freedom of speech.
They're allowed to write what they like, even when they're wrong. That's the system
The sport's not bad, isn't it?
Hard to behave. So, Johan Harren has the button and most of the chips on this table. And this is an interesting stage of the tournament because we're getting closer to the business end. And a lot of the tournament will be decided in the next half hour because those players that are going to do well will accumulate chips at this stage of the tournament. And those players that are still playing a little bit too tight will...
fade away.
Fade away or just hang in there. Or we get so many emails about multi-table tournaments about how do I play the middle stages, how do I accumulate chips when I'm not getting the cards, etc., etc. And the reality of it is you can't play the cards in a multi-table tournament because the escalating blinds will eat you up, as will the other players that are playing more aggressively.
That's correct.
You need to look for opportunities to make chips. Johan Harren be able to stack even more.
He does. The thing is, it's all a matter of chips mean time.
Ah, that's a very good way of putting it.
That's what it's all about. Chips mean time. So what you want to imagine is you're playing there and you've got your poker egg timer. you've got your JB poker egg timer, okay? And as you're watching it, you can see the sand trickling down. And you can see, hang on, time is running out.
Do you dream of a day where they'll sell the JB poker egg timer on internet poker sites?
I can see it. In fact, I'm going to. In fact, what I will do is, I'm going to include it with a book.
Yeah.
So it'll be the poker book, and you get your free JB poker egg timer.
Is it called How to Suck Eggs? Is that what? No.
Don't teach your granny how to suck
How
eggs.
I wish I had Nick's hair. But does it have that on it?
I'm going to have a picture of your hair implanted on the top of my head.
Yes. I think that would look pretty good. Actually, if anyone's out there and they're bored tonight and they've got a computer, if you could Photoshop that would be brilliant. I would love to see my hair on your head. I think that would be awesome.
It would be awesome, yes.
Look at Genius. What an awesome time to hit a full house. Late stage
full house
tournament.
queens.
Yeah,
anyway,
nice.
the poker egg timer. You can see this trickling down. As it trickles down, you can't determine when you're going to get good cards in poker. So therefore, in this multi-table tournament, the pressure is on you. I'm sorry, there's a stage now, you're going to have to take a risk there. You're going to have to either steal the blinds to give you a little bit more time in that egg timer.
Yeah.
Or get lucky.
I think that one thing worth pointing out is that until players become very, well, unless a player is a naturally aggressive player, when you learn multi-table tournaments, I think that people's view of that egg timer is often distorted. And I think that, I'm speaking from personal experience because I used to be like this, but I know that from our emails and from talking to other poker players that this is a common problem. People see that egg timer as being more generous than it actually is. They think that they have more time than they do. For reasons like they will look at what the blinds are at the moment without anticipating where the blinds are going to go, that kind of thing. I think that players err that way.
No, I think you're right. I was just getting confused because I remembered, and I never believed the story.
Right.
When I heard the story about how one of your ex-girlfriends used to use an egg timer, but I never believed it anyway.
And I beat it every time. Even the 2-minute one. Well, you can't mess about, can you? You've got a job to do.
Well, you've got writing to do, haven't you?
Anything. We shouldn't see it as a race, should you? That's
I win!
Bad.
It's the competitive part of you.
They don't like it when you shout that either. We're looking for your texts and emails, guys. Emails or text us on anything you like, but do bear in mind the topic introduced by Mr. Browning, which was if you were one of the 34 people, was it?
Yes.
That won $1 million in poker last year. What would you spend that $1 million on? What would you do with it? Would you spend some of it on poker, or would you do more fun, life-affirming things with it? There's the email, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Get them coming in, guys, on that or any other subject. Remember, this is your chance to ask poker professionals how they would play. So do take advantage.
Would you reinvest it in your poker career?
How much of it would you reinvest in your poker?
Exactly.
Quite an interesting,
Let's have a look. It's an interesting.
conundrum.
I think Nick might write in shortly.
You want me to write in? I'll probably just say what I think, to be honest.
Okay, be quicker.
Okay, yeah.
Can't be bothered to type.
Yeah. I type all day. I don't need to type now, do I?
Okay, well, good chip leader, this Johan Harren. As I said, very solid player. It'll be interesting to see how he uses his stack here.
Well, so far, having kept an eye on him, he's just playing his normal game. I think it must be just one of those days where he's hit a few hands and somebody else has had a slightly less good hand. I'd be surprised if he was doing anything dramatically different. We know from his single table tournament play on the show that he's a pretty tight player.
I'll tell you what a big stack has to be careful of.
An even bigger stack. No?
Well, that's true. I'll tell you what you've got to be careful of, and I see them, because people think, I've got the big stack, and they think, I've got to be the table policeman.
Yeah.
And sometimes they pick the wrong people to be the table policeman with. Now, if the big stack, you think, oh, well, if I just keep on fighting the small stack, hang on, you can't actually bully them out of pots a lot of the time. In fact, the big stack should be pushing his weight around, but he should be looking the opportunity to find the guy who's about on average chips. Because for him to make a decision is hard. He still looks at his stack and says, well, I've still got play here, but I don't quite want to...
The short stack will make a stand.
And he gets sick of it and say, oh, don't you bully me because you got chips. I call. You mightn't have that much anyway.
Yeah.
He gets brave against
your job when you've got chips is to identify the people that are scared of your stack and the people that aren't.
That's right.
The people that will pass their cards because they don't want to gamble.
The guys round about the middle level, they don't want to lose 6 big blinds because they're going to be struggling then. They don't want it. They say, I'm about average. I'm happy. I want to play when I want to play.
Yeah.
So you should be picking those. Don't just pick these small stacks time and time again. I've seen people with big stacks just get frittered away non-stop.
Well, unless it suits your style, there's no need to vary from playing good, solid, no-limit poker. There's no reason to play just because you've got chips.
I think you've got more room to pressure.
You've got more room to pressure if you want, but you don't have to do that.
You don't have to, but I'll tell you why you should. You should do it a bit, because when you've got more chips, your chips, as we've said before, are worth less. So therefore, when we speculate, these actually cost less for us if we've got the big stack. Poor Nick hasn't got so many chips. His chips are slightly gold-plated.
Yeah.
It costs him more. So therefore, if I lose, I don't even notice I've got so many chips.
This is just a bit of fun, by the way. This isn't representative of anything, so...
So therefore, that's why the big stack should be using his muscle a bit. He should make life a little bit more uncomfortable for people, but he should pick the right people to do it with. And I think the people hovering around about the middle are the people he should be, I'll take your blinds down quite regularly, pal. OK, well, Johan Harren is the big stack at the moment, a regular player on the show. We'll see how he gets on when we dip back into the multi-table tournament in a little bit. But for now, we're going to take you to a $20 sit and go. And you will see a familiar face. Oh, look, it's Johan Harren.
Multi-tabling like a mamma jamma.
Well, he's just cutting down the fluctuations.
Cutting down the fluctuations?
Yeah, playing more events at the same time. Don't win here, might win there.
Early days in our one-table tournament.
Yeah, there's the leaderboard. Look, Big Shan storming ahead there.
That's the least interesting leaderboard I've ever seen.
Not if you're Big Shan. It might be the only time you've ever been on top of the leaderboard.
Well,
you'll be pleased to see it.
I hope it isn't. I hope he's been there many times. This is a one-table tournament for those of you who are new to the show and aren't sure what's going on. These are 8 hardy souls who have all put up $20 to play in this one-table tournament. That's created a prize pool, and the last 3 men standing will share that out. 50% to the winner, 30% to the second, and 20% to the third.
Let's get real, though. They put up $22.
Well, that's pedantic, isn't it?
It is pedantic, but it's the real world.
I don't live in the real world, James. I live in a fantasy bubble where princesses have golden hair and young men seek their fortune in the city with nothing but a knapsack and a ill-fitting tunic.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, no, there is a $2 charge to play in the tournament.
Not in your world.
No, but in these players' world there is.
Yeah.
And what happens is they play no limit hold'em, which means, of course, they can bet any amount of their chips at any one time. And
a whole knapsack full of chips they can put in if they want.
They certainly can, and they'll play until one player has all the chips. But the top 3, the last men standing, will receive a share of that prize pool generated by the buy-ins. And Johan Harren has the best hand here, amazingly. Trev and Big Shan are getting a little bit carried away with their pair of 3s.
And Johan is chip leader in this one as well.
Yeah, he's on quite a run.
Trev limps in with 7 queens suited. The Swan playing loose as a goose.
Good. I love that old Harry Hill joke, which I will massacre now for your pleasure.
Good.
Which is,
no, not good that you massacre.
Did you know that a swan, a male swan, can break a human's arm with its wing, but a female swan can break a male swan's heart with just a look? It's lovely, isn't
Quite
it?
nice.
It's quite a poetic joke, actually.
It is poetic.
And early stages in this tournament, 10, 20 blinds. Those blinds will go up every 10 hands. So the forced bets that Jimmy and Big Shan have had to make this time, which move around once every hand, will double every 10 hands, forcing the action. And we've got a big hand brewing.
We've had the raise here from Trev, made up to 100, 5 times a big blind. So a big raise with a pair of nines, and it's the massive re-raise. And this pair of nines really should put this down. He's got no reason to call this. He's overbetted himself.
I think he might call because I don't think he's the greatest player in the world, and he does. But Swan made that easy for him to fold, didn't he?
No, but what made it even easier is that Trev overbet anyway. He's done 5 times a big blind, which in the early stage of a tournament is too big an escalation, I think. However, once he's done that, and someone is prepared to re-raise it, although it was a big raise, well then he has no excuse for calling.
Excuse me, none whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
Unlucky Trev, you are
The
out.
best he could probably hope for would be to see ace-king, I think, in that situation.
Well, it's not a complicated one, is it? You just don't call for all your chips early in a sit and go, unless you've got the aces.
But he was almost certainly staring at a very big pair. Which sometimes is nice, but not in the early stage of a sit and go.
And sometimes leads to restraining orders, doesn't it, James?
Katie Cam, where is she?
Oh, God. Leave her alone. Poor girl.
Sky Blue fan.
Trev's early departure.
Who are the Sky Blues? Can you tell us?
Coventry, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good at sport, aren't Nick?
And Scott, he'll feel right at home, won't he? 'Cause it's about the home attendance of a Coventry game, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
8. That's out of order. They are very well supported, Coventry. When I was a lad, they were a big club. And haven't had a good team for a while, unfortunately. I've got to be careful what I say, because my brother-in-law's a big Coventry fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So just as well you knew who the Sky Blues were then?
Isn't it? Poker Night Live with Nick and James is the show, guys. Hope you're enjoying it at home on this Tuesday night. We are after your texts and emails. Don't be backwards in coming forwards. Doesn't matter how complex or simplistic your question is or what it's about. Anything connected with poker is fine. We're also asking you if you were one of the, can you believe, 34 people that won $1 million at poker last year. What would you do with that million? How much would you reinvest in poker? Or would you never touch the game again? What would you do? On that or anything else, it couldn't be easier to get in touch. The text number is 62211, 62211, and the email's poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
If you were to play in every World Poker Tour tournament, and if you were to play in every World Series Poker Circuit tournament,
yes,
and if you were to play in every World Series tournament,
you'd be exhausted.
You'd be really, really tired.
Yes.
But also, it would cost you a lot of money.
How much would it cost?
It would cost you $355,000.
That's up there.
But that does not include your travel and your food, etc. Not included.
So it's even worse.
It's even worse.
Once you've factored in lunch, that actually becomes quite expensive.
Seriously though, actually, but it is. You travel around all those tournaments.
No, I just think the notion that there's people out there that are thinking, I could do that. And then you said, and you've got to factor in food, and they've gone, I can't.
Well, hang on, I could get a salad from the supermarket, that would keep it down a bit.
The extra $3,000 for food, that's the deal breaker.
Actually, no, reality though, travelling around all those tournaments, what will that bump it up to? I bet $500,000? Travel, hotels.
Half those tournaments are in the same place, man.
No, all over the
Rio.
No, the World Poker Tour take place in all different places: the Bahamas, New York, Atlantic City, Vegas, everywhere.
It's a valid point. It's not going to take up to $500,000, though, is it?
What? It's travelling all year long.
What is it? $355,000.
Yeah, that's the entry fees.
Well, it's not going to be $140,000, is it? How are you travelling? How do you travel?
Well,
Do you travel on one of those things where 4 men carry you on a special chair? Because then I can see it. Or
Yeah,
do you
but
buy a Bentley for each journey?
food. Okay, how much do you think it's going to cost each week?
What? About half those tournaments are at the World Series, right?
Right.
So you've got to
Not
travel
much
to the other half.
You got to travel from the.
So how many tournaments is it?
I'm not sure how many. It's
I'm sorry
altogether.
about this, by the way. We'll get back to
The
you.
World Series goes on for about a month.
Yes.
So now you've got to pay your accommodation.
You haven't got to pay your accommodation, though. If you're playing all those tournaments, you'll get
You
that
shouldn't
free.
have to. Oh, you could do, yeah. Okay, so we'll say
Put
it's
another-
a year's worth of tournaments.
Put another 50,000. There we
Okay.
are.
We'll bump it up to 400,000.
Hope your video recorders were on for that bit. That was great, wasn't it?
400,000.
400,000. No. Flippancy aside, it's a very interesting topic because to be a top pro is astronomically expensive.
I think it is.
You have to be backed, and of course, a lot of the name players are backed. They're backed by internet sites.
Right, I've got a follow-up to this.
Yes.
Because if we look at the top 10 tournament players of the year,
Yes.
obviously Mr. Joseph Hackham is at the top there. He won $7.5 million for winning the World Series.
Yeah.
But other people are in the top 10 with a total winnings of just over 2 million.
Uh-huh.
But they've probably played loads of those tournaments.
Yeah.
So basically, you could pay 400,000. If you get to the top 10, you're still only getting 5 to 1 your money then.
Yeah.
And you're one of the top 10 in the world now. So it just shows you it's a difficult area. Very expensive. Probably great fun.
Probably. There's
Needs
no
to be.
probably.
But I'm just saying it's a very interesting topic. In the World Series itself, to enter all the events in the World Series is 116,000.
Yeah. That's a slight distortion, isn't it? Because it's impossible to enter all of the events unless you get knocked out of them all on the first day, because...
That is true, yes. But mind you, they can just about fit in quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's quite a few one-day events on the World Series.
There are, just to put
Yeah.
it in context though, I don't know if there's anybody, I'd be surprised if there was anybody who is playing in all those major events that isn't backed. The people that are playing in all those major events are almost all backed by mainly internet sites, some backed by wealthy individuals.
Or got there via satellites.
Or got there via satellites, exactly.
I think satellites have created a huge number of the players, obviously.
Yeah.
So satellites via the internet has created a huge number of
So
players.
it's an interesting talking point, but it's actually easier to make money playing the tournament circuit than that would indicate, isn't it? Because you can win your entry, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, say yes then.
Yes, I'm saying yes. I'm just thinking it'd be easier to maybe sell them overinflated accommodation
I'm being
and
very,
travel.
I'm being very harsh on you, James, and I think it all goes back to
The hair.
the comment you made. I think that
What was the hair?
it was just harsh, wasn't it? You said it was rubbish. And I thought I'd got past it, but it turns out that I'm a deeply petty man, bitter little man, yes.
Bitter and twisted. No, that you're not, Nick.
Well,
Yeah.
we're watching, only about some things, we're watching a one-table tournament, real players on the internet, and they are in the early stages. We've lost one, we're down to 7. 3 of the 7 will walk away with a share of the prize pool generated by the $20 buy-ins each player's had to pay. The remaining 4 will walk away disappointed. Swan has backed into trips here, 3 4s. Nice hand, but tough for him to get paid. And yes, Johan Harren wants to play on with his middle pair. He will for 20.
I've won the first part of a World Series satellite,
Have you?
On the net.
Very exciting.
and I play second part tomorrow night. And it's a 1 in 20 chance to get a super bumper World Series package with the World Series and a couple of other tournaments and accommodation and spending money, the lot. So it's a 1 in 20 chance. So if you hear a very loud cheer wherever you are,
Yes.
it's me.
Well, good luck. That would be great. Our own Mark Bannon was at the World Series last
Yeah.
year. So it'd be nice if you were there this year. Let's all go.
That'd be great.
Let's do the show from Vegas. That would be fantastic.
Poker Night live from Las Vegas, Nevada.
It's got to happen, hasn't it?
Be good, Sam. Be great, wouldn't it?
We'll put in a request.
This is Joseph Hackham here. Just won the World Series for the second time.
Now, I'm extremely bad at following major tournament results. I'll admit that. Has Joseph Hackham done anything since? Is he playing in the major tournaments, or is he sitting on an island that he bought?
He's become like he's just become a superstar. He's just being invited everywhere. He's become quite a celebrity. He's actually playing the role of world champion very well. He's
good.
One, he's sort of thinner than the past champions. He photographs quite well, and he's coming across very well, I think, when he's being interviewed. I think actually they all have, actually, to tell the truth. The last three have been brilliant, really.
Well, yeah, Greg Raymer, it's a bit like Miss World, isn't it?
He doesn't
Great
remind me of
for the game.
Miss World.
No, I think he ate Miss World.
Yeah.
She stood still for too long near him. I think it's nice that it's a non-American world champion. I think that's very good for the game.
Yes, I think it is, yeah. I think we should have a British one. That would be good.
Well, the only time we've kind of had one is Monsor Matlubi, who was a British resident, wasn't he? But
Yeah.
I don't think he ever spent too much time here. But we haven't had somebody that plays, if you like, plays regularly in British casinos that's gone over and won it. That would be good.
No, we had won a bracelet. James Vogel
Yeah.
won a bracelet there. That was brilliant. And from the northeast, John Law came second. He was so close, very unlucky. He nearly won a bracelet. Did very well. I think he got over 300,000 for the second. But yeah, the World Series. Who have we had close? We've had.
Well, Barney Boatman placed reasonably high, didn't he?
Did he get in 30th or something? Well, he's been quite consistent a couple of times in the World Series, hasn't he? It's just scary to think how big it'll be this year. It's going to be bigger again, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a funny one. I don't know.
It's got to break the 10 million, hasn't it? The first prize.
Well, yeah. I don't want to put a dampener on things, but
What are you going to?
Well, I think I'm a bit of an elitist where poker's concerned, in that when I first got into poker, the World Series, 8 years ago, the World Series was so special because it had this huge mystique about it. And, it was conceived with the intention that it would find the best current poker player, if you like, the world poker champion. That was the original idea. And of course, begun with actually electing a champion, played poker for 4 or 5 days, didn't they? And then decided Johnny Moss was the best. So it really was, a proper kind of who is the best type tournament. And in my lifetime in poker over the last 8 years, it has become a completely different kettle of fish. It's now a mass participation event. And that's great. And, that has its place and everything. But it no longer decides the best poker player in the world. And I would like to see an event that does do that. If that's all right with everyone. Because I think it's lost that. Joseph Hackham is not the best poker player in the world. And, in a quiet moment off camera, I'm sure he'd admit that.
Right. Unfortunately, because these events become so expensive, which we've now found out, 355,000...
Just lost another player, James. Sorry to cut across you. Big Shan goes out, and Swan is a healthy chip leader.
He is a big chip leader.
He is.
With it being so expensive, we just pointed out, in its own right, it's becoming just who's got the entry fees, basically, who's going to be a contender for accumulating the most money or the most points or the most, fame, because it's just getting so expensive.
Yeah.
So basically, you've got to somehow find a way to either get a backer or money before you can actually enter all the prestigious events. The people up there are obviously more likely to stay up there, aren't they? If they've already got people who put them in or whatever, that's it.
Yeah.
They're going to keep on playing the events. So Phil Ivey, he's a great player anyway. I think he probably is the best player, maybe. But
Do you think?
yes, he's certainly a contender.
Yeah.
Definitely a contender.
In terms of tournaments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And money game, great money player as well. All-round player. Phil Ivey, he's a massive winner at money games now.
As I've mentioned from time to time on the show, I had a older guy who was a very experienced poker player who helped me a lot with my game when I was in America.
Your mentor?
Yeah, and he used to regularly diss, I believe is the modern word.
Yes.
A lot of
50 cents.
the name players. The kind of player that wins a big tournament, has a lucky day, and then trades on it for 2 or 3 years. And Phil Ivey, when I was in Vegas, had just been around for a year or two, and I asked him about Phil Ivey and expected the usual response, and he looked at me and said, "Nick, the kid can play," and that's that was like his ultimate. If he was judging a poker player, that was his ultimate compliment. I only heard him say that about 2 or 3 other players, and it was immediately apparent, both to David, my friend, and to anyone else that watched poker, that Phil Ivey was the real deal. He just seems to have, everything you could want in a poker player. In fact, he's got every weapon to his arsenal.
Yeah, he's got great focus, great concentration.
Pretty much unreadable.
Yeah. The true poker face.
Yeah.
He just doesn't seem to move.
I was lucky enough to watch him play a couple of times, and the thing that you guys can take from Phil Ivey's game is that he never, ever, his attention never left the action. I mean, he's a young guy, but his focus was, as James says, complete, and he would, as the betting goes round, he watches the betting go round, he watches the players inspect their cards, whether he's in the hand or not. He's completely invested in the game, and if you want to be a good poker player, that's a quality you need to get. You can play poker in a number of different ways. You can play poker for a laugh, you can have a beer and play poker, you can play on the internet while you watch TV, but if you want to be a really good poker player, when you're in a game, you've got to be in a game and nothing else, because otherwise you're giving up information, basically, which is out there for you to get.
Yep. Phil Ivey, the Tiger Woods look-alike. Probably helps as well, actually. Looking similar to another world champion.
What's quite interesting about it is they always say the Tiger Woods of golf because he looks a bit like him, but
yeah.
he actually is very similar in his impact in a lot of different ways. He looks like him, and he probably is a cut above the previous generation and probably has taken poker up a notch. Yeah, it's interesting.
Which golfer would you be a lookalike for, Nick? That's what I want to know.
Don't know, one of the spiritual ones.
Spirit in the sky.
Yeah.
Okay, what's happening here?
Johan Haran tried to re-steal, but Sky Blue fan has got a real hand, unfortunately for Johan, and it's going to stand
It's
up.
a house. 3 7s, 2 9s.
There you go.
Sky Blue's back in business.
Very
2,000
nice.
chips. 6 players left. Blind's now quite high, so it's a quite good standard of play here. 80-160. I'm not a minger, got a real hand. Pair of jacks makes it 320. Often in this stages, as we notice, when the blinds go up, the raise doesn't have to be so big, because basically what you're saying is, this is a raise.
That's how our players are playing. Very different styles. Big Shannon, as you can see, playing a huge amount of hands. 37% of hands. And hence his demise.
Yes.
No longer with us. All the way down to the player at the bottom, whose name I didn't see before it went off. So that's me not being able to read. Disappointing, I think you'll agree. We've got 6 players left in our one-table tournament. There they all are with their respective chip tallies. Johan Haran just lost about half his stack in that coup, but he's still in there with a chance. The blinds are at 80-160, and so you'll be seeing him make a move here.
And there we go. Whacked it in there.
Yeah, unfortunate for him that he's got the short stack sitting behind him because he wants to make a move before the blinds get to him. And, well, there it is. He needs a queen, he's got a queen.
But he looked at his poker egg timer. He saw time was running out. He saw didn't have many big blinds, and decided he'd whack it in there. He'd got a high card, suited for a little bit extra. Made his move. Either was going to get him to pass or get lucky, and he got lucky.
Absolutely. We're after your texts and emails tonight, guys. Fully interactive show, and we love it when you get involved. We'll be doing some of them in a few minutes. In the meantime, plenty of time to get yours in. 62211 is the text number. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email address. We want to know if you won $1 million at poker, as 34 people did last year. What would you do with it? How much would you reinvest in poker? And
would you play the circuit?
Would you play the circuit? Which circuit as well?
Yes, would you play the European Tour? Would you spend a month at the World Series playing as many events as you could?
There's one in Aruba, isn't there? A World Poker Tour
Sounds
one.
nice.
I'd go there and acclimatise for 9 months.
Important.
Just so I was in peak condition for when the tournament
yeah.
came along. Yeah. Get all ready for it.
You could take your own hairdresser.
All right.
Well, you could. $1 million, you could have your own personal hairdresser.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. There's Nick Wealthall. He's got his own hairdresser, you know. Be your gimmick.
Be my gimmick. It's quite an expensive gimmick, isn't it? A person. Can I just make my gimmick slightly unfashionable shirts?
You could have a girlfriend who was a hairdresser. That would save money.
Yeah, right.
Kill two birds with one stone.
It does actually, because hairdressers talk a lot, don't they? And so do girlfriends. So
there you go. You could get rid of it when she was doing your hair. That would be it. That could be the talking time and hair all done at once.
Yeah.
Use more time for other things.
Yeah.
I think we've almost got this sorted.
You actually think that as well? 5 players left.
Yeah, but you actually think it's about right.
It's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
Exactly.
Johan Harren is becoming more aggressive.
And this is excellent. I like this from Johan. Definite change of gear. And again, he's looked at that poker timer, and he's, look, 780. Blind 60. Doesn't have much time left.
Can't afford to hang around, can he?
And as I said before, a hand like Jack Queen, definitely a hand you should be trying it with.
I'm not has called him, though, and hit an ace, and this is going to be courtesy Johan Harren.
Unless a Queen or a Jack comes,
Queen or Jack.
Doesn't come, Johan can now concentrate on his multi-table tournament.
But that does not mean he did the wrong thing. Nothing wrong with his move at all.
In fact, he had about a 45% chance there anyway. Queen Jack against Ace 4. He's got the two middle cards. Even a tad more, it might be 46, because he's got the chance for a straight as well. Yeah, good move. That thrown in with the possibility that his opponents might have passed makes a healthy package. And
never a bad thing.
And a necessary bet, because in the next few hands you might get absolute garbage. This is going to be this is a well above average hand. Let's take our average hand as, say, like Queen 7 offsuit. So therefore, Queen Jack is way up there. Okay. Queen 9, Jack Kelly, we've had a move here. I'm not a minger, got another big hand. Ace Jack's looking good. One card to come and survived it. And I'm not a minger is
terminating
to the front.
Terminating the field.
3,470. Sorry, so it was 3,790. There it is. Nothing needed to hit. Because the ace was good enough.
We're down to our money winners, James.
Yeah, we're all happy bunnies here. We're all in the money. 50%, 30%, 20%. We're just haggling over who gets what.
Yeah, this is the business end of the tournament.
And the Swan, under pressure. Big blind is 320.
Oh, he can't pass that, can he?
What did he pass there?
Pair of fives.
Very bad. Very bad, Nick. That's just what we're talking about. He definitely had the hand there, which was the amount of blinds he had. It had to be played. Wallop, he had to be aggressive. He can't play cat and mouse. He doesn't have enough chips to do it.
No.
Yeah, he's backing it now, but he's not through clever play, unfortunately. But now he's been donated some money here now.
Absolutely.
Oh wow. Probably would have got it, but still.
Well,
okay.
that's a good example of how whenever we analyse poker, guys, and we would encourage you to do this with your own game, the outcome of the tournament or the hand is not what we're interested in. What we're interested in is whether you made a good decision or not.
Good play by Sky Blue. Obviously had to do it. Just got over 2 big blinds. No decision. 10-9, fine. Wallop. Whack it in there.
Straightforward.
Automatic play. He's done it. And look at that. What a reward. What a reward there. How on earth could they pass? Extra money in the middle, and he's got the money for nothing.
Well, these players are playing too conservatively.
What a result for Sky Blue fan. Yes, what a result for Sky Blue fan. What they don't realise is the mathematics of this. Unfortunately, we're looking at trying to... You haven't got time to manipulate to try and get third or second here. You haven't got time. The blinds are too big. So therefore, as we said before, aggression.
Well, there we go. That's a little bit more aggressive. Sky Blue fan with...
Yeah, and it's fine. Look at this. They've passed again. This is unbelievable. He's kept it. They've done passed twice to him.
Yeah, Sky Blue fan, difficult decision.
Yep.
He's put it in.
Well, a 9 would help him.
I don't know. He might have been able to pass there. The problem being...
I don't think he did too much wrong.
He didn't do too much wrong. The problem was that he was definitely going to be called.
Yeah.
So we're heads up. I'm Not a Minger's got the chip lead, but not by much. So this could still go either way.
I actually personally, I seriously think he's right calling there. Queen 8 actually above average hand. Time's running out. He's getting his money in with an above average hand.
Yeah.
He'd bet with it. He can call with it now, because once that time runs out, our calling levels have to change as well. And that's where people forget, because we're so used to saying, oh, you need a much better hand to call with than raise. It's true, you still do, but the level has changed completely.
Yeah.
And our level of hands is so different now. We haven't got time to determine if we're up against a better hand or not.
No, absolutely true. Well, Swan's evened it up, and now faces a decent-sized bet from I'm Not a Minger. He's decided to bluff at it. It's not come off for him, I'm afraid. Well, curious play by Swan at the end. Curious, he decided to... I'm Not a Minger's shown strength by betting out. He's decided to bluff where he didn't have any outs at all, really.
No,
if I'm Not a Minger had hit his hand. So not quite sure about that, but well done to I'm Not a Minger.
Yep.
Well done, and I hope you enjoyed that one table tournament. I think there's some interesting learning points at the end of the tournament of how to do it and how not to do it.
Yeah, let's take from this, really, the change in the level of the hands. Let's forget about this starting hand list. We have to be aware when time is short, zoomf, the level of hand really drops further than we think.
Rip up the rule book, write another rule book.
Definitely.
This is from Andy on the subject of bots. This is quite entertaining, James.
Oh, good.
You're going to like this. Thanks for this, Andy. He says, on the subject of bots, I had a rather good experience of people's fear of them. I've been playing for around an hour in a tight, aggressive style, and up to this stage had not entered into any chat. I was doing really well and winning hands regularly with premium hands. All of a sudden, after a juicy pot, one of the other players suggested that I could be a bot. I didn't enter any chat as the players discussed my play and sat there smugly accepting that this was paying my game a compliment. I then had a brainwave and started playing more hands. Whenever a decent pot built up, I put in a sizable raise, which the others would all fold to. Brilliant. I made a fair bit over the next hour or so, but had to finish playing as I was going out. I wouldn't have. Whatever it was, she wasn't worth it, I guarantee. The only time I entered any chat was when I left the game with a thanks guys, and by the way, I'm not a bot. I think thanks guys would have covered that off. I realised after that I shouldn't even use the chat then. You shouldn't. But made a note of the players, as obviously they would have noted me as in the future I could have benefited further by their thoughts of me being a bot. Well, not after you said, thanks guys, I'm not a bot. I mean, that's the end of that little ruse, to be fair, Andy. Do you think I cheated them, or merely saw a good situation and exploited it? Well, no, you didn't cheat them. Of course you didn't cheat them. If they're silly enough to draw false conclusions about you based on your play, that's what poker's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
You had a great situation, and I think your need to show that you got one over them has cost you a little bit of money, I'm afraid. But
You were just an opportunist, which is fine.
yeah, quite entertaining though.
But you have given us a little insight, because if any of you have actually created a bot and are using it on the internet, when the bot finishes, get it to say, "Thanks guys, and I'm not a bot."
There you go. That's the answer. Can they do that?
Yeah.
Can they iron shirts?
No.
No. Limited usefulness then, hey. We've got more on bots, would you believe? This is obviously a subject that's vexing people, and I think it's interesting...
Is this bot night?
When I get home, yeah. Interesting that in Andy's last email, people are kind of seeing, or like trying to... It's like sort of seeing things that aren't there, do you know what I mean?
God.
Seeing monsters that aren't
Right,
there, that
yeah.
kind of thing.
Monster bots.
Monster bots.
It's a monster pot.
Drelda has made a very good point, which we should have made before. Thanks to this, Drelda, which is that bots are only a potential issue for limit games, as a lot of decisions are simple and no limit. Absolutely right. The University of Alberta have been doing research into poker for many years. How do you get a grant for that? That's brilliant. What are you going to study? Poker? I'm just, you know, there's a tournament in Aruba that I have to go to. They've created bots for limit hold'em that are pretty good compared to average human players. However, the best no-limit bots they've come up with are fairly rubbish and couldn't even make money in the juiciest small no-limit games. No-limit is too much about psychology and the opponents. You can program a computer to work out the exact pot odds to call with a flush draw, but if the decision depends upon what your opponent thinks you're thinking about him, the computer is clueless. I read somewhere that no-limit bots will require a quantum leap in both computer hardware power and artificial intelligence before they can be successful. It's an interesting point of discussion. I happen to believe that you'll never be able to construct, well, never is a stupid word, it will be a huge amount of time before you can construct a poker bot that does well at no-limit hold'em, because it is so much based on player image and player personality and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's got the one thing which human beings still have over a computer, is that the humans are the masters of fuzzy logic, which a computer can't handle.
Fuzzy logic means?
Fuzzy logic means where you can just different angles, you can just think of different things.
Creative thinking. Basically.
Also, humans have another advantage over a computer. We can immediately, zoomf, discard 1,000 things which aren't possible, with the computer has to go through everything.
Idiots.
Exactly, idiot computer. But we can just do it straight away. But the fuzzy logic is the one, and the computer, you can't program fuzzy logic at the moment.
Right. If a bot ever became self-aware, right, like in the Terminator, it would just start browsing the internet, wouldn't it? It would actually get worse, because it would go, I'm self-aware, this is boring. I'm going to look for spiritual websites.
It'd be a multitasking bot.
Yeah. Interesting. Keep the texts and emails coming in, guys. poker@pokerlightlive.co.uk is the web address. We want loads of them for the second half of the show. More bots on Bot Night coming up, I'm sure. Stay with us for a few minutes, won't you? Welcome to the second half of Tuesday night's Poker Night Live. 100% guaranteed to be the best half of the night so far. That's a promise. Thank you so much for your texts and emails. We are enjoying them, and we are going to get through as many of them as possible. We're going to jump straight back into some poker, though. We've got a multi-table tournament running at the moment, guys, and we hope that you enjoy these as much as we do, particularly the final tables, which are always very, very exciting. That will be coming up in this half. Let's see where the guys are at the moment. There were 237 of them. The blinds are now getting up to a healthy 500, 1,000. Johan Harren, a regular player on the site, we've seen him in our one-table tournament, is still doing well in this tournament on 22,000. We've got 10 players left. 10 players left? I'm going mad. 20 players left. What am I talking about? 20 players left, so we are getting down to the business end. We're down to our money winners. Everybody still left in this multi-table tournament has won a prize. They all paid $10 to enter. So far, they're all guaranteed $23.70, a healthy $13.70 profit. Enough for a cinema and a bag of chocolate raisins to share.
You should have dark chocolate, though, because it's better for you. Extend your life.
Right.
Well, that's reports. That's really research they've come out with. You should eat dark chocolate quite regularly, and it enhances longevity.
Good. Dark chocolate enhances longevity. Can't say we're not teaching you here on Bring Up Live. Johan Harren makes the big move. My goodness. That's an extremely strong play. Look at that, James. What a move that is from Johan Harren. Leaves Tom with very little option. He would have to have a very strong hand to call. He actually doesn't have any hand. And Johan Harren is a potentially excellent tournament player because he plays a very solid game, but then he's not afraid to make big moves when he thinks the time is right, which is, of course, an excellent strategy for tournament play.
And, of course, that backs up or endorses, in fact, what we were saying earlier, and that is you've got to consider what your reputation is at the table. And, of course, he generally has a very solid reputation. So therefore, it's easy for him when he every now and again whacks in one of these bluffs for him to get away with it.
Yeah. Well, Tom's tried to force through here, and he's run into top pair, and will be running out of the tournament, I'm afraid. Not a good trot on the TV for Tom 37. Unfortunately, we lose him. Down to 5 players at this table. Less than 20 remaining in the tournament overall. We did have 237, so players still remaining have obviously had a good tournament to this point, but that won't mean very much to them right now. They'll be thinking about the big money. Over $700 for first place. 500, 1,000 blinds. Now, if I was in Merlin's shoes, I would just throw that away, but he wants to get involved. And Mandup can raise pretty confidently here, and he does do that because Merlin has shown weakness just making up the small blind.
If you were in your fantasy world, you could well be in Merlin's shoes.
I am in my fantasy world, James. I come here in the evening and talk about poker for money. That is my fantasy.
And look at this, we've had a change.
Yes. You're all over that like a rash. I think we're down to 2 tables.
Yes. The tables have been levelled out there. That hot pipeline is going to be telling us how many players are left.
Well, I'm guessing 15.
It's gurgling. Okay, Nick's got his guess in at 15.
And we've got no one dominating stack in this tournament. Obviously bigger stacks and smaller stacks. Merlin's got the pair of 10s. What's he going to do against the raise? Interesting call, this. Because if he pushes all in, he's definitely going to be called, and he passes, which I don't have a problem with, actually. You know, somebody's made a decent raise under the gun. He could be... the best he is probably a 50-50 with a slight edge.
Yeah, he's still got 10 big blinds. He's just paid his blinds as the other thing, so he has a little spell to maybe still be the aggressor. It was a very close decision, I think. Time is running out for him, though, as well. That's the problem.
Yeah.
See,
that's the problem.
As the time runs out, that pair grows in stature. That is the thing.
Uh-huh.
And we just have to be aware of this. I'm harping on about it because I think it's massive, and I think it's just an area. We've had a lot of emails in the past from people who seem to be struggling with this concept because they're getting to a certain stage and then not getting any further, or they always get to a certain stage with no chips.
Yeah.
And it's because they haven't attended to the problem early enough.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you don't get paid anything for coming 42nd or something, or 37th generally.
No, or even if you come, early in the money, that isn't why we enter tournaments.
No, it's insignificant. And if it's very significant for you just to get your entry fee back, well, you were probably playing in a tournament which was too big for you.
Unless you qualified for it.
That's different, because then that actually becomes like a prize for you. No, if you've qualified for via $5,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
you're getting $300, I mean, now that's a big win. That's like winning a tournament. And that's that. Okay, your scenario there is different. Say, listen, if I could only have a $300 bankroll, how different life would be. In that case, that's not so bad. But generally, if you've paid $300, you get your $300 back. This isn't. If you're just playing for that, there's something wrong. That's basically what I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. Agree with you.
But that was a good point. Yes, I like that. Getting there via satellite. That was nice.
Well, it's, you know...
Lateral thinking.
Well...
It was good.
We were talking about the World Series main event before. A large percentage of the people that just get $10,000
good point.
will have actually had a massive win.
Good point.
Because the vast majority of the field get there via satellite, don't they?
Yeah. Good point.
I'm on a roll. I'll shut up. I literally have. That was your
Poker
calm
Puppy
period.
whacked it in. He's got his ace. Pair of jacks here. What's he going to do? Under the gun. He's made it 4,800 from Mandrup. Sniffwood. Ace Queen. What's he going to do here? Very interesting. He puts it down.
Do you put that down, James?
I do, actually, yes, I do. Reason is because they've got the similar stack to Mandrup. Ace Queen. I don't want to just be calling. I don't know where I am. I could well be against a big pair. I could be against the Ace King.
Mm-hmm.
I can't quite imagine what hand he's going to have been raising with which I like. Because it was quite early position he raised in. So
yeah.
I put the Ace Queen down. Yep.
He does, you know. Good bit of multi-table tournament action there, guys. We will be back for the final table.
Is that a promise?
Very soon. That is a promise. On my honour. So
right.
not a
You've heard him.
significant
If it doesn't
size
happen,
promise. I have very little honour left. All personal integrity. Brilliant. Very, very quick one from Sean. It says he's new to the game. Can we explain what a bot is? We've been talking about bots, and you may think you've got the wrong high-number satellite channel if you've tuned in halfway. A bot is actually a computer program which plays online poker and poses as a human player. So you can set it up and it runs, and hopefully it wins you money. They're actually, A, not that common, very, very rare. Poker sites can find them reasonably easily, and B, they're not that great, particularly at no limit. They're not really profitable. Only in limit games do you find them making money, and even then, if you're a good player, you can beat them quite easily because they're predictable. And the thing you always want when you're playing poker against anybody or anything is if they're predictable, there is always a strategy in poker to beat them. That's the great thing about this game. It doesn't matter how they play. So yeah, that's what a bot is, amongst other things. I hope that answers your question, Sean. Keep the text and emails coming in. We're going to go back to a cash game. Little cash game for you now, which is a small game in the poker world, but probably at a level that many of you would be comfortable playing at. So hopefully it gives you some insight into how the people in these games play. 25, 50-cent blinds. You can put down $50 on the table at any one time. And there's the lineup for you. Snap It, a regular contributor to the show and the forums, sits atop the leaderboard with double the original $50 maximum buy-in. Johan Harren is also here. He's been everywhere tonight.
He's everywhere tonight, Johan Harren. It's the Johan Harren Show.
It is. He should be sending us an email among playing 4 tables. And
do you think he could be a bot?
Johan Harren?
Yeah.
I absolutely guarantee he isn't.
All right.
Because if he is, he's a bot that can write emails, which is...
All right, he might be a cheeky bot.
How long have you been waiting to say that, James? I mean, that is tragic. Kings on the button for Craving. Great place to have the kings. He can raise now. It looks like he's stealing the blinds. He actually has a real hand.
He's got a real one. Cowboys, King Kong. But Johan doesn't fall for it. Beardy, Ace 10. There's been only just calls with the Ace 10. Don't like Ace 10 as a calling hand. I can raise with Ace 10 if no one had raised before that. I've been raising with it, but I don't like calling with it.
I once had a big argument about calling with Ace 10 because a player that I had 20% of in a big tournament was down to the early money, and he called in the big blind with Ace 10 and ended up going out of the tournament. And I didn't have any problem with his play after the flop. He didn't do anything wrong after that. He was unlucky. He had a hand and ran into a bigger hand. But if he hadn't called with ace-10 in the first place, he wouldn't have been in that situation. And the reason he called was that he was going to be heads up with a player that he knew he was better than and felt he could outplay. Okay, fine, but the problem with ace-10 is you just don't know where you are.
No.
It's so difficult. If you call an opening raise with ace-10, you're not beating very much, and what do you want to see on the flop? Because if that ace comes down on the flop, you have no idea where you are. It's a horrible hand to call.
I'm going to agree with you, but I want to now segue into a proviso for it.
Segue into a proviso?
Yeah.
Where do you think you are? 50s jazz lounge analysis night?
Does it make sense?
It does, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Oh, okay.
It's just,
Okay.
This shows a little bit of street, James. That's Sorry, carry on.
Don't diss me, pal.
No, that's it. More like it. Don't know about the pal, but... Bruv. Try that.
Bruv, okay. Don't diss me, bruv.
There we are.
There we go.
Yes.
I'm going to segue into proviso.
Yes.
And the proviso is when time is running out. There will be a time when it is very, very, very correct to call with ace-10.
Sure.
And that is when our blinds is down and say, yep, I'll call. Hope he's got a pair, hope he's got this, my time's run out, this is good enough, at least I've got an ace.
Yeah.
I might be against pair kings, at least I've got an ace. So there will be a time, but in principle, when we have got time, I'm in full agreement with Nick, and it is generally a dodgy calling hand.
Yeah.
But let's keep in that thing about when things change.
It's one of those hands where, under normal circumstances, full table, you'd rather call with something like 6-7 than you would with ace-10.
Yeah. And in fact...
you'd rather not call with either, but I'm just making the point.
Yes,
that,
yes. However, it's a hand I can raise with, because if no one else has raised, if they've just called, etc., etc., if I'm in late position in a cash game or whatever, I'll often raise with ace-10. No problem, because it could well be I'm the only guy who's got an ace, which is a good plus point. Right, pool cue. He's done a chirpy raise, but a small raise. This raise seems to be very tight here, doesn't it? He's gone 50 cents with 50 cents. He's got king 3. He's been called by Beardy with 6-8 offsuit. Wow, what is going on? Okay, good bet. He's used his position. He got a sign of weakness from Beardy. He bet. He backed up his raise and took it down. Fair enough. But his initial raise should have been a bit more, funny enough. If he is going to play the king 3 as a raise, I don't think he should have just done a flat raise. I think he should have raised it representing a better hand.
Yeah.
Then he's got more chance of taking the pot down. As it happens, he took the pot down anyway. But in the long run, he's better if he'd given the credential of having some strength. FKA, most pre-flop folds there.
Tightest player. Actually, all playing reasonably solid.
I don't know how we can call Beardy tight. He just called a raise with 8-6 offsuit or something, but still. He was on the blind, decided he was... the bet was so small he wanted to have a look at it. Maybe he wasn't so far wrong. Okay, let's see what pool cue does with this.
Well, if he doesn't raise, we'll take a pool cue to him, I think. He does. Good lad.
And he's done 4 times a big blind here. Took it down. Well, pool cue, my first impressions are that he has in danger of becoming a bit transparent. I.e., big hand, big raise, rotten hand, small raise. Well,
Yeah.
we'll watch this space.
Well, the other players have picked up on that, I wonder.
Snap it. I don't think he likes that. He doesn't. He passes ace-2 suited under the gun. Too many players to get past. And Johann's done a raise here with 8-9. Taking advantage of against this tight table. And look at that. What a reward there. He's got a small blind and a big blind with 8-9 offsuit. He's been well overpaid.
Always nice.
If you got the small blind and the big blind every time you had 8-9, you'd be doing really well.
Nobody wants to talk about what
No.
they do if they won $1 million at poker,
I know. I
James.
thought they'd have some ideas on that.
If they are, they keep them to themselves.
They are. Please tell us, because Nick hates it if you don't email in. I can tell you that now.
I do get most put out, don't I?
He does, and he gets niggly about it eventually.
I do.
He does.
I like hearing from you.
Yeah.
Is that so wrong?
It's not so wrong. And I think you could use your imagination. You could say something funny. That would be great, because we like you being funny too.
Do you get your emails in, guys? poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Whether you want to tell us what you want to do with $1 million, or you just want to ask us how this game works, anything you like. We are here for you.
Sure are.
We'll get to some of your emails in about half an hour, so if you write a belter, you won't even have very long to wait. We are here to serve. King, Queen, Queen, Jack, several half hands. Could see a multiplayer, multi-way pot here, I suppose.
Well, will FKA limp in?
Will he do anything?
Will Del Boy limp in?
Why even raise? He does.
He does.
He's going to take it.
I'll tell you what. Shall we have a little glance to see what's happening in the multi-table? Because they've been a bit passive here for my
They
liking.
are. Well, I don't think we'll be too far away from the final table of the multi-table.
Because if I see them win the blinds yet again...
You'll be cross, won't you?
No, I won't be cross. I think it's good play, but it just the cards aren't giving them anything to play with. So we'll see what's happening across here.
Well, here we are. We've only got 6 players at this table, so 12-ish players left overall in the tournament. Really close to the business end of things, the final table. And Johan Harren has suffered a little reversal down to 14,000. The blinds are 800 and 1,600. And this is where dreams can come true. The later stages. They are playing for $700 first prize.
6 players at the table. It means that there's either 12, 11 or 13 players.
It does. Lenny Martin limps with the ace-queen. I'm not liking that, and that's one of the many reasons why. He now faces a raise. Johan Harren, he doesn't limp with the ace-queen. It's the big blind. I do apologise. Well, he's going to come over the top, you'd have thought, with all those chips. He does, and Johan Harren calls and gets lucky, hits the 8.
Wow. Oh, and...
We'll move tables to find the chip leader in the tournament. Bossern is winning this thing right now, James.
70,000 he's got. And Blair Aldo there is looking pretty healthy too with 52k.
Look at that flop straight. That's
2, 3,
exciting.
4, 5, 6. It'd be very exciting for Jake, is there? How can I get paid, he's thinking.
Oh, where was the smooth call? A little bit of subtlety required there, surely.
Yeah, I wonder if he was panicking about the flush draw, but when he's got that many chips, he shouldn't panic anyway.
Heads up as well.
Exactly. But,
that's one of those situations where if you run into a flush after flopping straight when your head's up in the blinds, you just don't worry about it. You just, you may well lose your chips.
You've just got a good bad beat story.
Yeah, you have. If there is such a thing.
Well, I think that is one. You just say, listen, at least I went out with a real hand.
There's no such thing as a good bad beat story, James. They're boring.
They must have been quite good to start with. Someone somewhere must have really liked them to start with.
I've never understood why people want to brag and go on about losing. It was brilliant the other day. I lost. Here's how. I don't care.
Actually, yeah, it'd be a bit like sort of like the pop industry. Yeah, my greatest losses.
I've never, honestly, mate, I've never understood it. I've never understood why people want to
My
talk
20
about
greatest losses.
Exactly. It's the same mentality that watches EastEnders. It's just like, I really want to watch, talk about, enjoy rubbish things that have happened.
Now, that's what I call losing.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly right. Funny business.
You couldn't have lost like me. Outdrawn
I'm
a game.
definitely the best loser. But that's the thing about our culture, isn't it? We reward failure and punish success. If somebody asks you, if you ask somebody how they are, and they go, I'm fantastic, I've had a great time, I've made loads of money, I'm, won a poker tournament yesterday, got promoted, etc., etc. In your head, you go, oh dear, listen to him.
Yeah.
Talking about himself again, off on one. If they go, oh, I had a terrible run, mate, it's all gone very badly, things are rubbish at work. You go, oh, I know how you've come here, and you give them some comfort.
But you don't. You think, God, I'm not so bad off myself.
Exactly. Well, oh, look at that. Zhongmi was ahead until the river, but then again didn't have the best hand when the money went in, so he can't complain too much, although I'm sure he will.
He can't complain to you anyway, because you won't accept it. So
I won't accept it. Anyway, the other point about bad beat stories is they're all about the past, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's not terrible. I think a bad beat story, if you can learn from it's okay. Because I think we should learn from our past. I presume that's why we study history.
So what do you learn from bad beat stories? Bad beat stories are people talking about when they were unlucky. So what do you learn from that? If they're talking about, don't sigh, James.
No, people talk.
I mean, this is a passionate point of mine.
I know it's a passionate point.
I get very riled up.
No, but people talk about bad beats because they just want to sort of point out that they're really brilliant, and they only got lost because they got unlucky. There's no other way they could have lost.
Absolutely.
That's what they're saying.
Absolutely, that's what they're saying.
I would have won the tournament, obviously, but this is what happened. Don't know how it could happen to me. I was clearly the best. That's what they're saying, isn't it?
That's what they're saying. If this hadn't happened...
But when they're saying that to you, that's no good, because you think you're clearly the best. So this is why you don't like to hear it.
That's not true.
No.
Possum passes. And Blaraldo will get a free run, which is always nice at this stage of a tournament. Almost at the final table, almost at the business end.
Yep, we're getting there now.
Of the tournament. We'll get lots of play in our final table.
And I think...
That's beautiful, isn't it? James, you're paralysed. You're paralysed by the sight of you with hair.
That can't be your hair, though.
That is my hair. We have Camcorder Steve to thank for that. Our viewers are the best viewers in television. You ask them for something and they deliver. Thank you so much, Camcorder Steve. That's brilliant. That's James with my hair and me with his pate.
Pate?
Yes. Sorry, hair.
Thank you.
Well.
What?
I'm just saying.
Look, there's plenty of it here.
Oh, don't show me that. Put your trousers on. Thank you for that, Camcorder Steve. That's brilliant.
Are they amazing, our viewers?
Hopefully say that. I want that on the website. That's fantastic.
Are they not amazing?
They are the best viewers. Awesome. Down to 5 players at this table, which means we're only 1 or 2 players away from the final table. And this is my favourite time of a tournament if I'm playing in a tournament. This is where you have a chance to really harvest some chips because the players get so worried about whether or not they make it to the final table that they get very, very tight. And it doesn't always happen, but I've been in situations where you can win 4 or 5 hands on the bounce because nobody wants to play. They all want to make the final table.
The only time when you should be getting situations like that actually is what I experienced it just a few days ago, was when you're playing a satellite where there's a certain number of seats. Now, of course, it does become a game of tactics because you should be monitoring what's happening on the whole tournament. And now you will have to make some tactical passes because you'll say, I increase my probability of getting the seat by not playing this hand, by letting him have to make the move himself.
Yeah.
So that becomes an interesting situation. But in a regular tournament, it's not correct.
Yeah. We've got 10 players left in this multi-table tournament. We started out with 237, so a huge amount of collateral damage along the way. And these guys are competing for a $711 first prize. The 10th place finish is guaranteed of $29.62, would you believe?
And they even paid 11th to 20th, didn't they, Nick? They even paid 11th to 20th.
Yes, they did. Yes. Got a text from Bubba.
Bubba.
Yeah. Who says, I find it amusing that computers have managed to compete with the world's greatest chess players, while a computer will struggle against any decent no-limit hold'em player. Shows those chess-loving snobs a thing or two. Bardi snobs. They're not all snobs, are they? There must be some nice chess players out there. Many of them are Russian. Lovely. Yeah, it is interesting. Chess, I guess...
Deep Blue, wasn't it?
Deep Blue. Have you seen the documentary about him playing Kasparov? It's fascinating.
No, I didn't see it, no.
In the second game or something, the computer makes a move which Kasparov and many chess experts still maintain couldn't have been made by a computer.
Ah.
And the theory goes that IBM had human grandmasters on the payroll that were assisting the computer behind the scenes. That's the theory.
Wow.
And it's all about... It's a fascinating documentary, and I wish I could remember it for you guys, because if you're at all interested in game theory and games in general, you would love it. We'll get the name of it for you, because it's well worth a rent or a buy, because it completely throws Kasparov, and he ends up drawing the series with Deep Blue 2, I think it was, after having been predicted that he would be untouchable again. And it was all because he was totally thrown. He was effectively put on tilt for 2 weeks, and the documentary camera captures his kind of personal anguish that he thinks he's being cheated. And you never know whether he was or not, but it's interesting to see a man at the top of his game basically go on tilt. So yeah, it's interesting, Bubba, isn't it?
What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about chess. It's a very high concept discussion. I think that it's certainly possible, isn't it, that IBM would... I mean, the PR from it was so great that they beat the greatest chess player, that it's perfectly plausible. And I've been told that apparently the documentary's called Game Over, Kasparov and the Machine.
Ah, right.
Well worth a look, guys, if you're at all interested in game theory. Were you ever a chess player?
No, not really.
Okay.
I can play, but not to any level.
And the interesting thing about chess, of course, is that there's no luck factor. It's you against an opponent in a really pure form. And of course the greatest games have a certain element of luck because that gives them unpredictability. Whereas the thing with chess is that it's inaccessible to the mainstream because you have to, in order to compete, you have to study for years and years and years.
That's right.
So it will never...
And have a good memory.
And have a good memory, yeah.
What I do like is, I think speed chess is great.
Oh yeah, lots of fun.
Really good fun.
But computers have actually ruined chess to a certain extent because the analysis of chess is now so deep that many grandmaster chess games they're suffering from draw paralysis at the moment, is my understanding, because players are cancelling each other out because the computer analysis has got so deep into the game, like sort of 20 moves into the game, that their games are very predictable because they fall into the same patterns because they know these are the best ways of playing. Whereas poker, of course, that can never happen because of the human element.
That's right.
And because of the infinite number of situations that we can generate.
That's
so, which
right.
is a very long way of saying that poker's best.
Yes.
Not Chess Night Live, is it?
No.
And never will be.
Well, if you were on that, I'd be interested to hear what you'd be saying.
Not very much. Don't know enough about it.
Me too.
I do like chess. I played a lot when I was younger, and I think it's something that when I'm in my dotage, I might throw myself into a bit of study.
Really? I don't think that's a great time to study chess when you're in your dotage, to tell the truth.
Why?
I just don't think you'll be remembering too much.
I will.
Oh, sorry.
James, seriously. I mean, I'm trying to make you be positive about your later years. What I'm saying is, there's no reason why you should ever... it's a complete myth that the brain degenerates with age. It's not true. It's one of the biggest myths in our society. The only reason that people's brain power degenerates is that they don't use their brain.
They don't keep it active.
They don't keep it
That's
active.
Right.
But actually, in chemical, biological terms, there's no difference between the brain of a 70-year-old and the brain of an 18-year-old, providing you don't obviously drink a lot in your lifetime or whatever.
And it's been proved that playing poker is a fantastic way to fight off Alzheimer's.
Really?
Yep.
And it's also been proved that watching Poker Night live
Extend your life by 6.5 years.
And improves your sex life and will make you rich. So stay tuned. All guaranteed. We've got 9 players left. We're waiting for one more brave warrior to fall by the wayside, and we'll have our final table. How good is that?
Can we have a flick to the other table to see what the chip situation is there? Can our gurus in the background do that for us?
Tell you what, you don't have to ask for a lot. Jorky's got a decision here, and he throws it away. Short stacked.
We've got 100 there for Blair Aldo and 57 for Bothern.
Well, that's a big stack, 100,000. There's only 350-odd thousand chips in play, so he's approaching a third of the chips in play, Blair Aldo. And can afford to play any 2 cards, he thinks. Well, Jorky needs to put his chips in on one of the next 2 hands. No doubt about that. He can't take the blinds again. I'll throw that one away, and Jorky will have the button. It's this hand or the next one, and if Boston passes, it should be this one, because it's just the best chance, and that's a mistake, I'm afraid.
And what's interesting here is they don't seem to be playing hand for hand.
Are they not?
Well, there's no pause, is there, between hands where there would be.
Right, well spotted.
So that's peculiar. Normally, when you've got a final table and you're one off the final table, so that the table who's got less players on it doesn't get buried even further by playing more blinds.
Right.
They play hand for hand. Also, is to stop one table playing deliberately slower, because a table might make a pact not to play very quickly.
Well, we are basically ready for our final table, aren't we? Certainly emotionally we are.
Emotionally, oh yeah.
We have
we've just lost a player
We're on to
there.
our final table. We're just going to squeeze in a crafty email, so we want to get through as many of them as we can tonight. I will.
Crafty one.
Watch this.
Watch your space.
Mike wants to talk about what he'd do if he won $1 million at poker. Somebody's responded to your question, James. How do you feel?
I feel it's warm inside.
Your business. Mike says he's only been playing for about 2 months, but already won a couple of home games and a few single table tourneys. Good for you, mate. If I won $1 million, I would go touring the poker world, playing poker to see how I would do against the pros.
Yep.
After 2 months. Challenge. I've got the maths down and feel that I would bring some Scottish flair to the poker scene.
Okay.
Do the Scots have flair?
Yes.
Do they?
The flares.
Do they have flair?
They wear flares. Still in fashion.
Let's all abuse the Scots, James.
No.
Is that your answer?
I'm a quarter Scottish. I'm not going to abuse them at all. Yes.
I love the Scottish. They're brilliant. I particularly love Edinburgh. If Edinburgh was just a little bit further south, I'd live there in a heartbeat.
What a great
It's just
city.
that they still have snow in April, and I can't get with that.
What a great city.
He would also pay to get married in Vegas so I could do my 2 favourite things, which presumably is playing poker and signing his life away. Don't know, Mike. What are you trying to say? No, that's a good answer.
Favourite things?
Oh, come on, James. I can't spell it out for you. You're the only person watching this show who doesn't know what that means.
Nothing naughty, is it?
I don't know what to do. Thanks for the email, Mike. Good answer. The only thing he hasn't said is how much of it he'd be prepared to spend. Because I think a lot of us, if we suddenly had a 7-figure sum, would test our mettle against the best poker players. But how much are you willing to spend before you think perhaps should be on a beach somewhere? Thanks for the email, Mike. Do keep them coming in, guys. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email address. Let's quickly get to our final table.
And I hope you find a way to win the $1
Harron,
million, Mike. Sorry, Nick.
Johan Harron is all in. We just missed that, unfortunately. He did win, so we haven't lost him.
And let's actually check to see what the big blind is. It's 2,000. Well, this time we have got a straggler there. Poor old Snifferwood is really in desperate trouble. But he's committing, I think. I don't know why he hasn't whacked it all in one go.
No, he's made a little error there.
But he's found himself in trouble anyway, unfortunately. He spent 2,000. I don't quite know what he's playing at.
Well, he's a bit unlucky that...
You'd be excited now because he's hit his 7, but no good.
and the flush draw, but it didn't happen.
No.
He's a little bit unlucky, actually,
Yes,
that Gropek hit a queen, because it's quite a good flop. Quite a good flop for him to go in on, but unfortunately, better hand sitting behind him.
Yeah, and he was greatly under pressure there, where he only had 3 big blinds, so nothing wrong there from him.
Do you know any of the other players apart from Johan Harren, James? I don't think I do. Bosson, I think I might have seen on the show before. Rings a bell, but I'm not sure.
Lenny Martin.
You know Lenny Martin?
I think
Do you
he's
just
a
know
real...
a Lenny Martin
Yes,
in your
I think
life?
so, yes.
Oh, really? I think Lenny is a very funny name. Just like to put that on record. We have got...
Is this because you're a fan of Lenny Henry?
No. We've got 7 players left in our multi-table tournament. We started off with 237, so 230 have fallen by the wayside.
Tragedy.
And well played to all of these 7. They've
Yep.
had a great tournament, but there can be only one winner. Bleraldo has the big stack and is trying to bully. Bosson calls with only ace high, so he obviously has Bleraldo not much, and Bleraldo follows through. And what? How can Bosson call there? I mean, he's right, but how can he do that?
Wow.
Well, that's very strong play, isn't it? I'm liking that. That's very strong. Great move by Bosson. Makes the bluff, and it was set up as well. He's got the flush. I'm going mad.
Well, you thought it was a bluff.
I thought it was a bluff.
He bluffed you anyway. You
Can
passed.
I please?
You
can
passed
I,
anyway.
I passed. Yeah. Can I apologise to everyone who's ever known me? Actually, how embarrassing. Bosson, of course, calling with the flush and then bluff. I don't know why I didn't see that. That's crazy. Bleraldo was bluffing into the wrong man there. Happy to call with his flush draw.
Okay, manned up. Small pairs made the move, but Jake has got the chips. Right.
I'm a little bit worried I didn't see a flush draw on board. I'm not going to play poker when I get home tonight, I'll tell you.
Right, low stack now is manned up, and we'll see here big blinds. The blinds now 1,500, 3,000. Manned up there has got just short of 10 big blinds. So the lowest stack again has a little bit of play still.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of room for manoeuvre. Bosson
much, but
has
a little
got
bit.
the chip lead and has been dealt a pair of kings.
Well, this is a wonderful time to get that, isn't it?
Particularly if Gropek makes a
Oof.
move. Yeah.
And he did, as predicted. Now, how much is he going to go here?
Well, he could risk smooth calling, or he could come over the top, and he comes over the top. No messing about. And Gropek has to be able to put this down, surely. Can't place your tournament on a pair of threes.
No, well done.
Well, we've got 3 players with around about the 30,000 mark, and they will all be looking to make a move because none of them are completely comfortable at that point.
No, yes, we've got the rich and the poor here, haven't we?
Yeah,
we've
we
got
have.
Bosson, Bleraldo and Jakers, and we've got the poor, who are Lenny, Gropek and Mann. Manned up, but we'll just give him his nickname. And Bleraldo, small blind. Let's see what the bet is here. Ace Queen. I think he's going to make it. I was going to say 12. Yep, I like that.
You'd have been right.
Good play. Quite happy just to take a few more chips off manned up. Each time a player disappears, the other player's position improves, because it becomes easier to win the tournament.
If you were sitting there, James, with a sort of 25, 27, 28,000 in chips,
Yep.
what are you thinking? What are your priorities?
Well, now I'm looking. I'm thinking I've got a round's going to cost me 4.5, so I'll take 4.5 off my stack. So if I'm manned up, I've got 25. So I'll say, right, I've got just short of 21,000. 20, that'll be in a round's time. So I'm prepared to let it go around, because when I get down to 7 big blinds is basically where I still think I've got enough chips to make people pass.
Okay.
So therefore I'll try and pick up a hand, and that is a good hand there. I would have just probably not tried to play poker with it. I'd have probably just pushed it.
Yeah.
I'd have pushed it all in. I wouldn't want to play poker with it, because I haven't really got enough chips to be passing there. And I would just want to get rid of the waivers with that hand.
Yeah, understood.
If the hand had been better, now I could possibly play poker with it, because I could say, right, this is the hand now where I can actually win some chips on merit with.
Sure. Boston's going to take another one and breaks the 140,000 chip barrier.
So we'll keep on looking at these low stacks to see what their decision should be. Well, Gropek there, he's just got over 10. I'd be pausing, I'd be contemplating. He was perhaps just a few too many after him, he thought. Boston putting a bit of pressure on there, and I think that's good by Boston. I think from the chip leader, that size raise is very, very good, because he has all the chips. So when he does a flat raise, he can now choose who he wants to fight.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him call here.
Yeah, he will call this, because it's the size of chips. He'll hope he thinks he might just have 2 big cards or whatever.
Absolutely.
And if he's got a pair, it's a bonus. If it's a small pair, it's a bonus.
That's right. Man Up leaves us in 6th place with $118 for his $10 entry, which is not bad at all, but of course he'll be disappointed he didn't go further. And Boston swells his ever-growing avalanche of chips. He's got basically half the chips in play at the moment.
Yeah, but I like to bet. See, although he's got all those chips, he just did the flat raise. Well, when you've got the huge stack, the flat raises, it's just the implied aggression later, which is going to frighten the players. When you've got a small stack into a small raise, well, they say, well, hang on, what have you got to back it up, pal? That's the problem. But with him, he can just imply, I've got a really good hand, I've got all these chips, so watch out, pal. Or I might have nothing, but you don't know. So he's using his stack well. And if you pick a small raise as the big chip, it means you can be a non-stop menace. You can be putting in quite a lot of these little pressure raises in.
Yeah.
And when they go wrong, you get away for very little.
Yeah,
but you'll be taking down a lot of blinds.
That's right, you're exposing very few chips to danger.
That's right.
So it's it has a
so
high
your risk reward is fantastic. And all the time, you know people are going to be very cagey about fighting you. So you'll probably take down the blinds, take down the blinds. Small stack decides to fight. Okay, I'm getting probably just about odds to fight you anyway.
Yeah.
Etc. Etc.
There's no doubt, is there, that at this stage of the tournament, 6 players left, 5 players left, stack size is as important as any other factor.
It is. But where the big blind would be wrong would be if he's now with not such good hand, or with a lot of hands, if he starts to make his price of a raise higher. That's not clever. He doesn't have to. He can say, I raise with less.
Yeah.
And he should do.
Yeah.
Because this gives him, he'll be less frightened to do it again if it fails. He wants to be brave enough to still be able to keep on pressuring.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Let's get back to it.
It's good, this final. Blairaldo there, King 10. And he's made a classic size raise. And Blairaldo, I think that was a right size raise for him, because he wants to let the guy with the big stack know, listen, I've got a proper hand. So his situation is different.
Yes.
Because he had about 50, 60,000. He needs to say, Boston, 12,000. I have got a real hand. Don't think you can muck around with me, pal. This is a real hand.
Yeah.
So he had to demonstrate that to him.
In your face.
Yeah.
He's saying.
Yeah. You might have big stacks, but look at this.
Have at you.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows all the language, Blairaldo, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, very much so. It's not Tony Blair, you think?
Yeah, he adapts to whatever people want. He does it.
Even if they want baby killing.
Yeah.
And lies.
Yeah, he'll do it well.
No problem. So,
He doesn't like fighting David Cameron now, though.
I would fight David Cameron. He looks like a wimp.
No, verbally he doesn't like to fight him.
Oh, I think that'll change.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he'll change. He'll disappear.
Apparently so.
Soon.
What odds would you make for the next election if you're making book? That's a good question, isn't it?
It's a good question.
See, I've turned into a proposition.
I actually think it's going to be... the boundaries really favour the Labour Party to a great extent.
Yeah.
And very difficult to beat them that. However, the Liberals have actually done the Conservatives a massive favour.
At the moment.
Well...
there's if you're making book, there's 4 years, 3.5 years till the election.
They've really actually taken a giant step backwards.
Yeah.
But
what I'm saying is,
if the Conservatives captured the Liberal vote, well,
Yeah.
then they could win.
Yeah.
That's basically what they need to do. Otherwise, it's very hard to overturn the majority of 60-odd because of the boundaries. The boundaries have changed so much. They'll still have they'll have the largest. The next, what I will say
still
is,
haven't answered my question.
okay, what I'll say is that the next election, the Conservatives will have the largest vote.
Okay.
I would bet on that.
You would.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the price, doesn't it?
Oh yes, obviously it depends on the price. Yes, but okay,
You'd be interested in that bet.
I would be interested in that bet that they will have the largest vote. Yeah.
Okay.
But they mightn't win the election.
5 players left in our multi-table tournament. I hope you're enjoying it at home. We are in the studio. Love these multi-table tournaments, and the final table is always tense and interesting. Plenty to learn if you want to play in these tournaments yourself. We started off with 237 players, and we're down to just 5 fighting for the money. $711 for first place for a $10 buy-in. Can you imagine that? 70 times your money.
I know, very nice. Can you tell us what fifth gets, please?
A round of applause. $154 for fifth, James.
All right, it's not bad.
It's not bad, no, not for $10.
Yeah,
for
very
fifth.
nice.
Extraordinary.
Pair of tens for Jakers. Made it 15,000. Takes it down. Who's our low stack? It's Lenny Martin.
And
Used to be associate producer of Opportunity Knocks.
one of the weirder things you said to me. Jakers with the ace-queen. Absolutely the right thing, moves in. Boston might be tempted to call just because he's got the chips. I can't... Jakers' stack's probably too big, though, to be honest. Slight problem with the display of the bet there. Not quite sure what it was. Oh, look at this.
Kojak.
Oh, redraw. Look at that.
Lovely 10 on the end for Jakers. Gave him the top straight. There it was. Queen, Jack, King, 10. And that ace fits perfectly. Unlucky for Boston there. He was behind in the flop, went ahead on the turn, 2 pair, and the lead changed hands yet again on the river.
Yeah, wasn't that unlucky though, was it? He had the worst hand at the start.
Yep.
I mean, he's made a big mistake. He's the big chip leader, and he's called, not sure the exact amount, but 50, 60,000. He's called for half his stack with King Jack. It's a needless thing to do.
I agree with you entirely.
And now look, he's back amongst the pack where he was dominating the field.
Yep.
Didn't need to get involved.
And it'll be interesting to see how he plays now after that, because people tend to get very ratty with themselves when they did have a big lead. Although he's still not in trouble, he now feels like he's in trouble, because he's comparing how life is now to what it was. He's now in a terraced house and he used to be in a mansion.
A terrorist house?
No, not a terrorist house, no.
Well, that's what you said.
No, a terrace house. But he could be a terrace house.
True. Unlikely, but true.
Unlikely, yeah. But you know where I'm getting. You know the drift where I'm
just trying to imagine a terrorist house. Rucksacks everywhere. Get these out of the hall. This is dangerous.
Got any batteries? Yeah, plenty.
Terrible business. 3 5s for Jakers, and he'll be hoping that Colorado's got something.
It's a terrorist flop. He's wired.
That was awful. That was awful, and probably inappropriate. Jakers being bet into with a set, nice place to be. He doesn't want to mess about now with the flush draws and straight draws out there, but he decides to mess about and gets away with it. I think I would have raised there because there's so much out on that flop and you're playing against the big blind. Out on that board, rather. Don't you? I wouldn't have been comfortable smooth calling, I don't think. Because the big blind's bet out there. You might be?
No, I'm just trying to see the flavour of the thing. I'm just wondering why he was doing this. Whether he was just trying to just keep on... I think he was trying to be deceptive about what he had, and I'm wondering what he would have done if that heart does come. Unless he's thinking he's not going to be... Well, I think Blair Alder would have just whacked it in, wouldn't he? Yes, I think you'd have probably just bet it. I think you're right, Nick. Whoa!
Well, hopefully you all looked away at the same time there, or all blinked for an extended period, because you just saw a preview of what's to come. Shocking.
Can we put bets on?
If only we could. If only we could. That's like... Do you remember in the old days when they used to give out the football scores at the end of the news and they never used to warn you? They used to do that when I was a kid. They used to go, and in the football, blah, just before Match of the Day was about to come on. Shocking business. Sorry about that, guys.
I used to love it.
Technical glitch.
I used to be watching Grandstand with my granddad. It would be the football results. And when I used to love it when you gave me the first football score and you had to guess what the second one was. Of course, we were very good at the intonation.
No toys in your home, no. It's a bit tragic.
Everton 0, West Ham 0. Yeah, very good. The boys in the back got it.
We're going to a break, thank God. We'll have the final of that multi-table when we come back. Keep the emails coming in, won't you? poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. We'll just be away for a few minutes. See you after that. We're back, and we've only got 1 hour left of the show. It's actually gone ridiculously quickly.
It has flown by.
Yeah, very quick. Thank you so much for your contribution tonight on the text and the emails, guys. As ever, great response, and we do appreciate it. You've still got an hour left, so don't slack off. Anything you want to ask about this great game, we are here to answer it. We will talk about whatever you want. That's why we're here. Let's look at a few. Ben has emailed in to say, the reason that poker is so much harder than chess for a computer to play is that chess is a game of complete information. At any point, all the information on the board is available. This means that deep pattern matching methods, oh yeah, I love a bit of that at the weekend, can be used to determine the best strategy from millions of previous games. Poker is a game of incomplete information and thus far less suited to computation. Well, Joe, I don't know about you, but pattern matching methods for me have always been a bit of fun. You're quite into that, aren't you?
Oh, definitely.
We think that's probably right.
Yeah, I think it was a good email, actually. Very good. It's poker's incomplete information is the key to that.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it difficult. Yeah, very good indeed.
Extremely difficult. We're going to go straight back to our multi-table tournament. And hopefully the gremlins have gone to bed, little buggers.
They must be getting tired now, these gremlins, surely.
Well, since their last movie, they've done almost nothing.
Yeah, the gremlins are going to bed.
Lazy. Just replaying a couple of hands before we left to make sure that you get all of the action, guys.
Yeah, because we wanted to see how we decided to play those trip fives. This is what we were talking about before. Trip fives had decided just to call, just to see if he could sucker Blair Alder along for a bit more. He actually wasn't believing the flush draw because, of course, the flush draw would have to have gone runner to be a flush draw, so he wasn't so bothered. I think that was the reason. And I think that was fair enough. He was trying his best to maximise his pot. Ooh. Lenny.
Yeah, a bit of a no-brainer, that one. 6 times the big blind left, ace on the button.
Yep.
Automatic, really.
Yep, lovely hand to find. No decision. Right. And it's Lenny and Bleraldo are struggling still. They're now just hovering. Lenny's getting very near the 7 big blinds. Bleraldo just a little bit more. If you take the 4.5 off, he's got 21.50, so he's still got the 7. He could still wait around Bleraldo if he needed to. He could have one round of the table. But he's looking now. They're both on red alert for a hand or a position. Well, Lenny, wait no longer, pal. Well done. Press the all-in button. I know you're unlucky. Or could be. Jake has got so many chips, I think he can afford to call it. And he comes over the top. He only wants to fight one person. And he's got a flush draw even. He's got the flush draw covered with him as well. Didn't need it. He had the pair. Pair of 8s for Jakers. Lenny did nothing wrong there. In his situation, pair of 7s was as good as he could hope for. In fact, better than he could hope for, to tell the truth. But it wasn't good enough.
Bye-bye, Lenny.
Bye, Lenny.
That's all he missed. 5th place, though, and the consolation of $154 for a $10 buy, which is a pretty good couple of hours' work by anyone's standards.
I bet you like Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, that's
I
more,
read you well.
That's more the kind of Lenny I'm looking for.
Yeah.
In my life. Lenny Bennett, not quite so good.
Right. Lenny the Lion.
Oh, no, he was good.
And Terry Hall.
Yes.
Well, Terry Hall and Lenny Lyon, that's who he was. The worst ventriloquist you've ever seen.
The worst ventriloquist you've ever seen. I've always thought ventriloquism is rubbish.
Except when they're on the radio.
Yeah, there you go. Have you ever enjoyed a ventriloquist act?
I have, yes.
Have you? Oh, look at this. Bosson has done it again. Well, Bosson's gone out of the tournament. He's done the same thing in 2 hands, both against the same player. He comes in for a small raise. Jakers pushes his stack in, and Bosson calls twice with substandard hands. The first time he did it with King Jack, and then he's done it with Ace 9. And that's not good enough, I'm afraid. If you want to play winning tournament poker, you just need to be able to accept if somebody comes over the top of you, they've probably got you beat. Sometimes it'll be a bluff, but, you know, Ace 9 even against a bluff is not going to be a dominating favourite. Why risk a tournament?
Yes, it's only... It went so quickly there, I didn't get a chance to do the maths of how much the re-raise was.
About 50-odd thousand.
And how much was in the pot? Can you remember? Or?
It was
insignificant.
It was a terrible call.
Okay.
It was a terrible call, I'm afraid.
Well, more thinning out happening.
Well, Group 8 gets lucky on the end and knocks out Bleraldo, and all of a sudden...
We're down to 2.
Down to 2. That happened very quickly. Suddenly, after a period of more controlled play, our players snapped a little bit.
And Gropek here, they've both got middle pair. Often the case here, you'll still get contention when the hands are very close. Because it's a way like you sort of sense it's close. Of course it is. They've both got the second pair.
Jakers has position, and if Jakers can find a bet now, he may push Gropek off this. Let's see. No, he just checks. I'm quite surprised Jakers didn't put in a bet there, but they're going to split it up, and we'll continue with Jakers having about a 4-1 chip lead.
Very right.
Reasonable amount of play left with the blinds at 2,000 and 4,000.
Right, we're in an interesting situation here. Yeah, sorry, go on, Nick.
No, that's it. I was
All
just
right.
umming.
Okay, Gropek. So we're looking, he's got about, they have got a bit of play, he's got about 20, just short of, well, how many? He's got, beg your pardon, he's got 17 big blinds. That isn't panic level. He definitely doesn't have to play any cards at the moment. Any run. He doesn't have to play horrible hands at the moment.
Jakers bets out with the flush draw. That's good enough.
But he should be raising here.
Now we're just trying to get a handle on how these guys are going to play the heads up.
Small raise there, and it was called.
I don't like the call.
He just done the small raise though. He done 4 with 4.
Yeah, but that's still, you know, significant to Gropek's stack, isn't it? You can't keep throwing away 4,000.
Jakers could be aggressive.
Yeah, and he is being the more aggressive. I suppose you'd expect that with all the chips. But Gropek's got to start standing up to him because he's getting whittled away here.
And he's popped the raise in.
Jakers has the option of re-raising. Oof.
Pressure, pressure. You can't call that, I don't think.
No, Jakers is playing a pretty aggressive heads-up game. He's not giving Gropek any room to breathe, is he?
No.
And throws away when Gropek has an ace. So Jakers' timing so far is perfect.
Wow, and he's surrendered a hand there, Gropek. Well, I think he'll be playing that one. Oh,
Doesn't get a chance.
doesn't have to. Well, we're down to 13 big blinds.
Yeah, it's getting serious, isn't it, for Gropek?
Yes, he's correct raise. He could have. I think he could have even raised a bit more. Because he's got the smaller amount of chips.
Yeah.
Where Jakers can just do the flat raise, as I said before, because he's got the implied aggression with all the chips. I think Groper's actually sometimes has to put in a bit more.
To be taken seriously, yes.
Yeah, and to have more chance of perhaps with the sort of iffy hand for his opponent to put it down.
Yeah.
And if needs be, he has to play, he has to play. Well, Jakers is looking like he's waiting for a hand to finish him off with here. Whoa, being very selective here. And he's slipped down to 12 big blinds now. Gropek on just a decline here, steady decline. And now he's found a hand, Jakers. Oops, he's called with 4-8. Well, at least he'll be able to get away from it. He doesn't like the ace, the jack, or the hearts or anything. So, but now, look at the trouble now. We're down to 10.5 big blinds.
Yeah, well, Jakers deserves to win this tournament.
Okay, he needs to be attacking now.
Jakers deserves to win this tournament based on his play in the heads up. He's played a really good heads up game so far.
Yeah, well done, Gropek. At least you attacked there. That was good.
Finally.
Well, the thing is, he's picked the moment when he had to attack, which to give him credit.
Yeah.
And he's called there. He's looking to try and connect to one of these, which will be a bigger pot. Now it's Jakers out of position.
Now, if I was Jakers, I'd bet here, and he does, because if he had an ace or a king, Gropek would have raised pre-flop.
And he's passing now. He's getting down. He's down to that 10 big blinds again. Okay, as long as he realises now what we talk. Okay, this is it. Just whack it in, mate. Okay, he doesn't have to.
James, relax. I'm worried you're not going to get to the end of the tournament. I know it's exciting.
It is, but I just want him to play properly.
Or he's in serious trouble.
Okay, he is in trouble now. I don't blame him here. I don't blame him.
Well, he almost has to call this, I think.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he's unfortunate.
Unfortunate. He got a flush draw. He's got them dominated. Hit
Only
the
a
ace as
5.
well. How cruel.
Jakers
And
wins it all. Has
7-11.
355,000 chips and $711. That translates to for a $10 buy-in.
And the second got 462. Not bad either.
No.
Anyway, good tourney. I think Jakers there, when he had the chips, I think he showed a good bit of aggression. He kept Gropek on the back foot all the time, didn't let him breathe. I thought it was a solid performance by the winner.
Absolutely excellent heads-up poker by Jacobs.
Yeah.
If you ever wanted to know, and we actually had an email about this earlier in the show, if any of you guys wanted to know how to play a heads-up match when you're the big stack, you could do far worse than model what Jacobs did there. He played really good poker, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And he didn't feel the need to raise every hand.
No.
He was passing bad cards. He played, but he played control aggression, kept the pressure on most of the time.
That's right.
It's good to watch. Very good to watch.
Yep, good.
Hope you all took notes. There will be a test. We're going to do some emails. This is from Ken, aka Lothian49. James asked, what would you guys do if you won $1 million at poker, as 34 people did in tournaments last year? Practical issues. Pay off the mortgage, holiday of a lifetime, probably to Vegas around July, says Ken, and a new car for myself and the missus. One each, is that, or want to share? Non-practical, he'd pay someone to throw his mother-in-law out of a plane. I mean, that is murder, but let's move on. Get liposuction to get rid of the beer belly. I've got to be honest, with $1 million in the bank, you're going to put it back, though, aren't you? And get the missus a new body.
Oh, my. That is a dangerous one.
Ken's words, not mine.
I think he needs to win the $1 million now.
I hope she's not watching, Ken, because that is dangerous, isn't it?
That is very dangerous.
Dangerous talk, my goodness.
You better say you were bluffing.
Yeah, or drunk. Andy has emailed, I hope that's not how she became your missus. Hi guys, I'm enjoying your show as always. I've been reading a bit of tournament strategy lately, always a good idea. And I've stumbled across the principle of stop and go. Could you please explain a little about what this means and when should you use it? My understanding is that stop and go was coined by Greg Raymer. I could be wrong, it's certainly in his stuff. And my understanding of it is that stop and go is when you're short stacked. Let's say, for example, in the blinds, and you've got a hand which you know you have to put it all in with because you're crippled. You're down to 2 or 3 big blinds, or 3 or 4 big blinds, or something like that. The principle is that it's better to call the pre-flop raise and then push in on the flop rather than push in before the flop. If you're going to be called anyway, if you don't have enough chips to make anyone pass. Hope I'm making this clear. If I'm not, I apologise. The idea is that pre-flop against a bigger stack, you will be called whatever, because if they've got a good enough hand to play in the pot, they're going to call you. So you don't have enough chips to scale them. But on the flop, if they don't connect with the flop, even if there's only a tiny chance they'll fold to your bet, that tiny chance means that it's the better play. So that's the stop and go. Rather than going all in pre-flop, go all in on the flop, because that kind of mental factor that there's a flop out there that you may have connected with and that they've missed, as James said earlier, 2 to 1 against to hit a pair on the flop, means that it's the more profitable way to go. That's right, isn't it, James?
Yeah, it's firing 2 bullets instead of 1.
Yeah.
And obviously when you fire the second bullet, your opponent has seen 71% of the cards.
Yes.
And they might waver.
They may well waver, absolutely. One from Hamo, when I find it. I've been playing poker online, thanks to this, Hamo, for 6 months. From my original $70, I increased it to $700. Fantastic, well done. I class myself as a reasonable player. So would I, and I've never even met you. I'm about to play my first live tournament. Could you tell me how to judge players from the beginning of tournaments and what information to find out about them from a first impression? Very good question. How do you quickly assess players when you play against them live, James?
Well, I'll tell you what, you just watch. You watch very carefully. When you're not in a hand, you watch what they do. He raises. Well, are we going to see the cards in here? Take note of what he raises. How much did he raise? What cards did he have? Okay, put it to your memory. Does he limp? Do we get to see the cards? Find out what he limps with. All the time you're picking up information, collecting data about your opponents. So you want actual physical data to start with. After that, you can be looking for mannerisms as well, maybe what he does when he's got a massive hand. Does he sort of like yawn, look out the window or whatever? Yeah, pick up those bits of data as well. But watch, watch, watch. Poker is a game we're playing all the time, whether we're in that pot or not. And the sooner we all get that into our heads, the better. If we start just listening to our iPod, looking at the valet, reading a paper, you're not going to be playing poker to your full ability. I'm going to give out my 15-minute report tip, which I don't know if you've heard or not. Oh, right, no.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Oh, good, I'll listen. Can I take notes?
Yes. not that complex.
Oh.
Check this out.
Check it out.
What I started doing many years ago, and it's an old habit, and I do it as a reflex now, is once I've sat down at a table, whether it's a cash game or a tournament, after I've been playing for about 15 minutes, I go round the table and surmise what I know about each player. In my head, don't do it out loud because it does slightly annoy them. But in my head, I surmise what I know about each player. So just a paragraph on each player. Okay, I know he's a tight player. I think he plays quite well. He tends to re-raise from the blinds quite a lot, or whatever it is. This guy's a loose player. When he's going to bet, he looks to his chips first. Whatever I know. And the reason that I do that is that it just gets my conscious brain on the right page. It brings the knowledge that I have to the front of my brain. It makes me focus on each player, summarise what I know, and most importantly, it brings to my attention if I don't know enough about a certain player. So either I haven't been watching them closely enough, or they haven't played enough hands, or whatever it is, so I can then focus on them for the rest of the time. So that is a tip that I'd give you. It just allows you to summarise your first impressions, and also point out what you need to be paying attention to in the minutes to come. That's Nick's 15-minute report tip. Give it a try, courtesy of me.
I like it.
Do you like it?
I like it, yeah.
Feel free to use it
Thank
at
you
will. But please use it for good, not evil. Sean has texted us and says, I'm new to poker. Would you recommend professional tuition? Interesting question. We don't often get asked that. If so, what kind of fee would I expect to pay? James?
Yes, I think there's nothing wrong with professional tuition. In fact, I know quite a few players who, I've got a friend of mine in Vegas who used to be a games player, used to play blackjack in different games, and he's taken up poker quite late, but he went to, in fact, I'll tell you who he got tuition from. He got tuition from Paul McGreal, X22, a zany character in poker, but underneath that, he's a very, very bright guy, obviously a great backgammon player, but also a great teacher. And my friend has had lessons from him, and he's now become a winning player.
I would also recommend it. I've never actually paid for poker lessons, but I had informal lessons from a poker player. I think there's no substitute for, I mean, basically you're standing on the shoulders of giants, aren't you? Instead of having to learn by trial and error, or learn from an abstract like books, if you've got somebody that's inspecting your results, I think it's, you know, a massive shortcut. The question is, how much would you pay? I'm not too sure about that, to be honest.
Well,
what's reasonable?
Okay, I mean, normally in these games, I mean, I used to teach backgammon. When I was a backgammon player, I used to give backgammon lessons. I used to give private lessons then. With a backgammon then, you would actually be sitting with people, you'd play against them, but then you'd be watching the play, and then you'd be going through a play, why it was correct and why it wasn't. But they were getting it hands-on, and people do learn rapidly that way. With the poker, if I was going to be giving private lessons in poker, one way I would do it, I would actually sit with the person, I would get the person to play on the internet, and I would sit with them. And as they were making their decisions and playing, now I would go through exactly why, or where I think they'd made a mistake, or where they'd played correctly.
Right.
And so basically be a hands-on approach and saying no, why, etc., etc.
And?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's the question. Not for you, then?
No, not for me. I know.
How much would you have to pay for somebody good?
Listen, there's different deals. Apparently, you can be taught in a way.
He doesn't want to say.
I will tell you.
All right.
I'm giving a good answer.
I'm listening.
There are people who will teach you, and if they think you have the potential to become a good player, they'll do a deal where actually they'll teach you, and basically maybe they'll even get you to play for them.
How much?
I'd imagine you'd be paying something at least £50 an hour.
£50 an hour, there we are, sold. Fantastic. I think it's worthwhile as well.
Yeah.
I think it's well worth that. I think it's actually worth more than that. If you're serious about becoming
I said at least £50 an hour, that's what you'd be paying from a good player.
If you're serious about becoming a winning poker player, then it's worth that.
Yeah. Oh, well, you'd probably learn a hell of a lot.
Yeah. And James is available. Bookable. Guys, thank you so much for your contribution to the show tonight. Keep the text and emails coming in. We've got half an hour left. We will try and squeeze a few more in before the end. And we'll try and find time to show you Steve Camcorder's picture of the hair swap, just because I think it's brilliant. What a great set of viewers we've got. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email if you want to check in with the show and get us to answer your queries live on air. We can get back to some poker. This is a cash game to take us up to the end of the show. 25 cent, 50 cent table that we were enjoying earlier. Snappet is still there, still in profit for his buying. Duff Miver, one of our regular players, has joined him. And Johan Harren, who's been seemingly on almost every table we've covered tonight, James, hasn't he?
He has. He's been everywhere. Man.
I forgot to read out that Hamo, who wrote about judging players at the beginning of a live tournament,
Yeah.
is from Sheppey. And he has pointed out that Sheppey, to me, let's face it, the Isle of Sheppey's in Kent, not Scotland. I mean, I'm only out by 600 miles. I've only lived here all my life. It's not too much to ask, is it? I apologise to everybody in Scotland and everyone in Sheppey and everyone in Kent, and to my mum, who's a geography teacher. Sorry, Sue.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
That's
She
the
was
worst
a
bit.
geography teacher.
No, but that's the worst bit. She must have... Oh, dear.
No, the worst bit is, James, I've let myself down.
No, you've let your mum down. Geography teacher in the family.
Yeah, your mum forgives you, that's the thing.
Oh, she will.
Unconditional love. I play that card. Played it before, I'll play it again.
Well, she'll know what to get you for Christmas, a sat-nav, I think.
I don't have a car, so I could walk around with it.
You can walk around with sat-navs.
Yeah.
Have you passed your driving test?
I know I'm youthful of complexion, James, but I have managed to pass
Not
my driving
everyone
test.
has taken the driving test.
Yes, I have, yes.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. First time, so...
Yeah,
They say the worst drivers pass first time.
I could be right.
They are right in my case, I'm terrible.
I confess, after I passed my test, for the next half hour when I drove, it must have been the worst example of driving ever seen, I would think.
Brilliant.
Screeching round corners. It was horrific.
Celebrating.
Yeah, terrible.
Car is not a toy, unless you're 17, and then it is.
Yeah, well, I was wrong about that, and it was a toy. An old Morris Oxford.
So we're watching a 25 cent, 50 cent cash game. Little poker game, but I know a level that many of you will probably play at, so I'm sure of lots of interest.
For those of you looking for the bigger games, we mentioned it before, but they've changed the format on the site. You might think they've removed the TV tables. They haven't. They've moved them to a different part of the site, lower down, and they've made their own little file there. It's very neat the way they've done it, but all they've put on it is TV. Those, when you press on that little file, opens up the TV tables. There's loads of them there, but it seems to have confused people. So, we don't want that. We want to have all the tables so we can show you all the different prices. We want to show you the $25, $50 game, the $5, $10. We want to have them all full, just as normal. So, if you've learned how, obviously, our players here, tell your friends where the tables are. Tell them how to get them on them again. Anyway, what have we got here? Sorry, Nick?
I say good stuff.
Yes. Duff Miver has got himself in a bit of trouble here. When you're against the... oh, look at this. He really is, he's digging his own grave here now. Surely Ranger thinks he's ahead. He does. He checks. Duff, do you realise? You do. Well done, eventually. And that's a danger of hanging in there just with overcards, because the problem is, if your opponent has hit a lower kicker, you then go and hit your ace, it's just going to cost you a lot of money.
That's right.
You've got one pair, you're so relieved at hitting one of your cards, you don't care anymore, and you pay off the guy with two pairs.
Not a good place to be.
No. And I think being stubborn with two big cards is a big area where people lose money.
Yeah, it definitely is. We see that every night on the show, no question.
They just can't put them down. And what was good before the flop has got to be reassessed when the flop has arrived. And don't be stubborn.
Here's how the guys are playing. Variety of styles. 81% of pre-flop folds for Craven, so he's only playing 19% of the cards he's dealt, all the way down to V3 Ranger, who's playing almost half the hands he's dealt. So that really is a big spread of playing styles. Let's see which one's more successful. I suspect I know. Johan Harron and Snap It, two of our regulars, are well ahead. $50 is the most you can buy in for initially on this table.
Okay, raised to 4 big blinds by Craven with his ace-jack. Been called by king-queen suited. He's got position on him. Whoa, and on the river. Along came the jack. Well, the pair of eights I thought was a bit overly passive there.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a paired flop.
Well,
Pair of sevens with a 10. This is actually a great flop.
Oh, it's a brilliant flop for a pair of eights.
For a pair of eights. And if he's prepared to call a bet later, how much better to put the bet in first?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I remember when I was first told that. I've been playing poker for about 3 or 4 months.
All right.
And the guy next to me, who I'd been friendly with, said exactly that. If you're prepared to call, just bet.
Yeah.
If you've got a hand that you would call with, you should bet out. And it's a principle that is completely true.
Definitely true, because why was spell it out, because you've always got to try, whenever you capture the chance that your opponent will pass,
Yes.
that is an added percentage to the strength of that hand.
That's right.
And calling can never obviously have it.
It just goes to the heart of the game, which is a phrase I use a lot on Poker Night Live. There's 2 ways to win at poker. You have the best hand, or you represent having the best hand and others throw their hands away. You're the aggressor, nobody matches your bet. That's what makes poker unique. You don't have to have the best score to win. Now, if you're not the aggressor, you are not taking advantage of some of the utility in the game. Therefore, it makes it a much, much harder game to win.
Yep.
That
Also,
simple.
even when you've bet, and even if they stay there, now they're not quite sure. In fact, you can slow them down. In fact, you probably even get a free card afterwards from it, because they're a little bit nervous about why you bet in the first place.
Yeah, it's also that you're taking control. It's also that you're taking control of the hand, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
That's the other thing about it. Do you know any players, decent level players, that play with a calling style as opposed to an aggressive style?
I think there's a time to do it. I think the time to do it is when you're in a game where you've got like basically maniacs who are doing all the betting regardless. I think it's quite right to play a calling style then.
Right.
Because they are doing the betting for you.
Yeah.
And then you can wait till the final moment when then you can pull the trigger when you want.
Right.
So I think it's very correct to do it then. But because you're not getting, if they're just maniacs, you're not getting anything from, there's no percentage chance of them passing when you bet anyway, probably.
Right, right.
So you're better just to be tiger in the grass all the time and just wait for them that way.
Yeah. The bottom line is that aggression is part of most winning poker styles.
But normally it is.
Yeah.
In fact, what I've just done recently, which is quite interesting, and I think perhaps I would recommend people to try it, is probably historically I've been probably happy playing 10-seaters, and I've played quite a lot of them. But just recently I've also tried playing 5-seaters, cash games. Mm-hmm. And I've been playing, quite interesting, I've been playing 5-seater pot limit.
Yeah.
And I've been going on there, and I've actually been a monster. I've been so aggressive. Well, it's incredible. It is incredible. Because you capture you capture loads of blinds anyway. Then also you're betting. You don't have to disguise your betting because you're just basically a betting machine. I'm betting with quite a wide range of hands. However, of course, when I'm getting a good hand as well, I'm just betting the same way.
You nutter.
And of course, now you're getting paid on really good hands.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm betting way out with my trips, top trips or whatever. And they say, oh, you're just betting again. All of a sudden, you've ended up winning some monster pots. But I think it's quite good to do that. And then you can put your foot on the brake when you want, obviously.
Got to have all the stars at your disposal. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Let's get back to the game, guys.
But having a little go at that, I think it's important because it'll make you just suddenly start thinking. You've got to really think about what you're doing in a five-handed game because you really are playing poker.
Yeah.
You know, you're ducking, diving, passing, checking, raise, bet. Lots of different moves are going on there. There's room for plenty of moves because there aren't so many big hands out there.
Yeah.
But a little bit of that is good for you because it helps you to think poker again when you go back to, say, playing a 10-seater. Obviously be aware now you need to go back to having good starting hands, but when you get in a play in a pot, you've sharpened up your skills of playing a pot again by playing the short-handed.
Yeah.
Just as I recommend before tournaments, as I said, before I go away to a festival, a big tournament, I will have a spell of playing heads up. I'll go and play some heads up tourneys against people just to sharpen up that part of the game. So hopefully it'll come into action in the tournament, i.e. ending up in the last two.
That's the objective.
That is objective.
So why not rehearse for the objective?
Well, I think one should. In fact, I'll have a few of those. Actually, the heads up on me. What I think I will do tomorrow, funny enough, is I will actually play. I might well play a couple of sit and goes before I play the satellite.
The World Series of Poker Satellite.
Yeah. Because that will be quite interesting. Just to see, it might be that I've got to get down to the last 3 or 4, and that will be quite good.
Are you going to Deauville?
No, I'm not, because I'm doing a lot of shows this week for Poker Night Live. So,
see, instead of going out and accumulating wealth for yourself, you're giving back to the viewers.
that must be good.
That is very good. Good karma.
I think I'm doing
Karma.
Saturday,
And I know they appreciate it, James.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I believe.
Poker weekend with James Brownlee. Nice. Battle of the Kickers here, and E3 Ranger shouldn't really be playing on, but he may be tempted to.
And what a lovely kick of the jack is there.
Well, V3 Ranger doing exactly what we're telling players not to do.
Oh!
Well, that's something that you never tell anyone to do. It's an interesting proposition, though. Johan Harren might struggle to call. I mean, he must be thinking, what did he call me with? And now what is he doing that with?
Wow.
Well, there you go.
Wowee.
Makes the big bet when the queen comes, and we don't know if V3 Ranger is clever enough to be making that move, or if he just thinks his hand is best, or what.
No, I don't think he does think his hand's best anymore. I think he's actually decided that was the only way he could win it.
Represent the queen.
Well, that was a scary one because he didn't quite have enough to be sure that his opponent was going to pass, I think, because Johan might have just reluctantly called it.
Well, it was a successful move.
I tell you what, it's a hard bluff to pull off that, because if you have hit your trip queens, I'm not certain that's the bet you make.
Well, this is why you got to be a little bit surprised Johan Harren didn't call, unless we know. I think V3 Ranger's been playing a lot of hands, so. Well, I mean, I don't know, but you're right. I mean, if you hit your queen, you going all in is not the normal play, is it?
You only been betting each time. You maybe would have possibly you could have just checked to let him see if he bet again. I don't know. If you had hit the queen.
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because if you're Johan, what do you put him on? Hard to know. And I suppose if there's...
Well, you think the worst and think he's got the queen, I suppose. But
I suppose you do. Well, Johan did, certainly.
actually, I'd just like to have seen the beginning of that again. So you want to piece it together. And what have we got here? We've got hands played. And Ranger, as you said, is playing a lot of hands. 46%. Duff is playing quite a few as well. Johann's playing a surprising amount for him.
Yeah, and that makes it more surprising that Johann didn't want to call. Because V Ranger is a loosey-goosey type of player.
Okay, we've had a decent raise from Duff with the pair of tens. Takes down $1.25. Just a limp with ace deuce. Not very keen on that. There's the raise. What a waster. I'd certainly be inclined to be raising with quite a few hands on this table the way they've been. And Duffy's going to have to let go. Just got rid of another big blind, basically.
Well, I could see a bit of button and blind shenanigans here with these hands, although Craven's entered with the pair of fives. Yeah, and Harry might raise here, I think. He does. Seems there might be some dead money here, and there is. Free cash. Nice to see.
Ten jack, don't mind that. It's got position, a limp with position. We talked about that earlier. A limp in late position might get position. He's got it. But there's a bet from SG with a pair of threes. And this table's so tight, it takes it down. See, this table, when I'm looking at this here, I would definitely be pretty aggressive at this table.
Yeah, it's not a scary table, is it?
No, it needs, you know, I'd be raising quite a lot.
Yeah.
King, queen here, for sure I'm raising, 150. 2, fine, I don't mind that. Takes it down. Obviously ace king's going to raise.
Versus the queens.
We're going to have a contest here. How much is Johann going to make it? Is it going to be 2? Seems to be becoming the norm. It is. We read it right.
Try UI to make it 6 or 8. 8 maybe. Seven. Split the difference.
Right in the middle.
Now if you're Johann, you probably call and try and hit the flop and check and fold, I'd have thought. He can pretty confidently put try UI on a big pair. Or at best the same hand as him, so...
Yeah, it's not a nice position, basically, when you raise with ace-king and you're out of position and you get re-raised. It's not one to sing and dance about, is it?
No.
Now it's like, oh goodness, I've got a hit, or...
Yeah, you're basically done, aren't you?
Yeah, so now you're going to be unhappy sort of 2/3 of the time.
Great flop for a pair of 8s. Check raise, maybe. Would be the standard play, I think. That'd be my standard play anyway.
And he's done it.
Good man.
He's done the Nick Wealthall standard play.
I approve. And now he should bet, and he hasn't, and that's really weird.
Ah, because that's not the Nick Wealthall standard play. But, oh, he's going to do it again. Oh, no.
Well, I don't understand that at all. Do you understand that, James?
No, that was really strange. Well, no, I do understand it. The problem was he didn't bet, so he didn't know where he was.
Oh, sure.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
So I can understand how it happened in the end, because now he's just saying, so you still like it. Now what can I do? I better pass. But he should have bet. He's done the check raise. I mean, and now he doesn't bet the next time. Madness. Yeah. And also the card should be no worry to him.
Well, it's a great card for him.
Yeah. No, very, 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 very strange play.
What a waste to live up to his name there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it started off great, doing the Nick Wealthall standard play.
Wealthall standard play, yeah, good.
But he didn't do the Nick Wealthall standard follow-up. That was a problem.
If only more people would jump on my bandwagon.
That would be very enjoyable.
Yeah, funny one. But there it is. Try why with the ace king might well bet here. He doesn't. I think I might have bet there. Why not?
I really feel you're going to meet a hairdresser.
What, in life?
Yeah. No, I just, because we've talked about it, joked about it, I think it's going to happen.
You think it's going to happen?
Yeah.
I've got to be honest, if that did happen, it would be one of the highlights of my life.
Oh.
What? I'm just saying.
Joke, highlights. Very good.
Thanks.
For this time, that was super.
It's all right, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you think you gel together?
Oh dear.
You started
and so the show slipped into what can be described as a mess.
A bad hair day.
Bad hair day.
No, it shows we're still awake and live and perky.
Absolutely.
Although it's 10 to 2, we're still there, we're buzzing.
I can't believe it's 10 to 2, it's flown by.
It has flown by, hasn't it? Actually, it really has whizzed by. Actually, I think we've covered some really good topics tonight.
Yes, we have.
And I think we've had some good chats on some interesting parts of tournament play. I hope people have enjoyed it.
And I hope they've benefited from it.
And I think it helps. I mean, I know we find it helps ourselves as well, but I think we've started to think more and more about situations.
Yes.
You know, I feel that what I'm going to take away from this is next time I play live for sure, I'm just going to make a bigger effort to really absorb what's going on at the table.
Okay.
Because I think
Phil Ivey styly.
Yeah, and I just want to watch and learn and really pick up more information. And I like your 15-minute review of the players. I think that's
Give
a good.
That a whirl.
I think that's a good one. And in fact, I think it should be a regular review of the players.
Oh, yeah, no, it definitely should.
So,
definitely should.
But that's a bit I'm going to take away. I'm going to really work harder in the tournament. So I'm really, really, sucking up some information and actually looking at the more physical things. Just actually, what size bet does this guy do with what hand? People are creatures of habit.
Yes, very much
And
so.
they very much have patterns. And there's some amazing patterns out there. And I think through sometimes our laziness, we're not picking them up.
Yeah.
This is madness.
Yeah.
Something never mind looking for the obscure one. Does he raise his left eyebrow? Just how much does he bet when he's got ace queen?
Yeah, definitely the primary source of information, isn't it? The betting patterns of players. There's no two ways about that.
And that's why it's possible to play good poker on the internet. You can't see their faces, but it's their betting pattern.
Yeah.
So betting pattern is very, very important.
Yeah, I agree completely.
I think it's just sort of more glamorous to think, I could tell the way he sort of just twitched slightly. I knew he didn't have it, I could tell.
Yeah, nonsense.
The little
Often,
bead of
isn't
sweat trickling down his brow gave the game away. No, it was his betting pattern, that's what you knew. Okay, another limper. He's limped with King. I don't mind that. He's looking for the unraised pot where he can rule.
I wouldn't play Queen King there in a
He's ruling.
game.
He's ruling.
Can I just say?
Hey?
I might at this table, in a normal no-limit cash game, I wouldn't play Queen King in early position.
I would have played it. King, Queen suited out of limped in.
You would?
Exactly the same. And now I feel I'm in the land where I'm ruling. Unraised pot. I think if I hit my Queen or King, I'm in great shape. I think, actually, I actually believe my king flush draw is very, very good here now as well.
Well, Craven might have a bluff at this with a busted flush draw. He doesn't, and Try takes it down.
There's Johan. Top of the leaderboard.
And there is the leaderboard. Johan Harron's been our feature player of the night, hasn't he?
He has, yes. We've seen him
All
everywhere.
over the shop.
We seek him here, we seek him there.
Our tournament leader for a while, but that was eventually won by Jakers, who took that home. We have finished our poker coverage for the night, guys. A couple of emails quickly before we go.
Okie doke.
Let's have a look. Where is Balrog has emailed us. Hello, Balrog, once again. Morning, Nick and James. Got a bit of a cunning plan if I manage to win $1 million playing poker.
Oh, right.
As well as a cunning plan to get an email read out, considering not many have yet offered their thoughts on the subject. Well played. To some, it might be appealing to have a chance to play the chap who won $1 million. I reckon for a modest entry fee, people might, given the opportunity, fancy a bash at being able to say they'd beaten Steve, that millionaire poker player. Obviously, one has to target the right punter, those that may have seen little poker on TV but weren't necessarily regular players. Meanwhile, the $1 million goes in the bank, the interest buys the burgers, beers and other necessities, and I travel prostituting my 15 minutes of fame to extract as much as I can, playing people that hopefully I'd have an edge over. It's a great plan. I'm not convinced that if you win $1 million, your first priority is going to be playing poker against people as a man who won $1 million. Call me cynical. I think you might be spending some of that $1 million first. I don't know what you think, James. You think you're convinced by the business plan?
I think it's good, yeah. I quite like it.
You know, to give this man a profitable enterprise, and he's lapping it up. Drelda's emailed in. I think this is your second email of the night, Drelda, but you write good emails, so, you know, the cream rises to the top. What can I say? Bad beats get a bad press. They're a good thing. I don't mean bad beat stories, which you're right are a bit boring. Very. I mean bad beats themselves are a good thing. Every time you have a bad beat, you got your money in as a big favourite. Absolutely right. This is my point. If this happens a lot, you're playing a winning game. If you lose a lot of bad beats, then there must be lots more times when they don't suck out on you. The more bad beats you get, the better. You're right. You're absolutely right. Another way to look at this is that you have to offer the fish something they can hook themselves on. If a bad player never made terrible calls and happened to get lucky, then they wouldn't play. Well, this is a very important point. This is why poker is a successful game. If poker was like chess, if I played, you know, Garry Kasparov at chess, he could probably take his pawns off the board and still destroy me in about 10 moves. But if I play Johnny Chan at poker, then I will beat him maybe, I don't know, 2 games out of 10 or something like that. Poker has the factor where a bad player can beat a good player, and that's what keeps bad players coming back. That's what makes it a game that appeals to so many people, isn't it? Without that, we would all struggle to make money.
True.
So it's a good thing.
All these games, which are a mixture of luck and skill, are very, very appealing.
Yeah. It has to have that.
Backgammon, and a thing which I think will take off, as I've mentioned before, I think blackjack tournaments will actually become quite popular.
Yes.
Again, a mixture of luck and skill, plenty of excitement, and every dog can have his day.
Yeah. But if you look at sport, all games, I mean, football has that as well. Football has enough unpredictability that keeps you watching. I mean, not if you watch the Premiership this year, but in general terms.
No, but in general, well, it has had unpredictability there. But look at the Wigan to start with, we're having so many results, etc., etc. You still get the massive cup shocks, don't you? Because you can have 20 shots on target and not get one go. The other side has one shot and in it goes. Yeah, there's enough luck in that to make it exciting as well. And frustrating, and that's part of it.
I read that my team, Liverpool, had more shots on target than anyone in the Premiership this year. And that's not luck, that's if your shots are taken by Peter Crouch and Fernando Morientes and people like that. That's what happens. Sorry, we've segued.
You've got Robbie Fowler now, so...
God is back in his holy temple. I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight, guys. We had a multi-table tournament, lots of good poker action and lots of exciting poker tips. I'd steer your way to tomorrow night's show starting at 10 o'clock. We've got the Spin Palace multi-table rebuy tournament, so that'll be a bit of fun.
That will be fun.
And it's also a beginner's night, so for those of you who are stuck with us trying to pick up about the game, tomorrow night is focused more at you. Not quite sure who the presenters are, but they'll be brilliant.
Superb.
And they're on from 10 o'clock. Thanks again to Camcorder Steve for the best Photoshop in poker history. James, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, been great, Nick. Good to see you.
We'll be on again soon, I'm sure. See you next time on Poker Night Live.